Chapter 337. Within the seemingly endless Grand Canyon, the white-robed Dongbua Shui Ying lifted his head and stared at the saber scar in front of him. I wonder if I'll be able to reach such a realm in this lifetime. Dongbua Shui Ying stared at the saber scar as he mumbled to himself, after which his body trembled slightly. With a flip of his hand, he retrieved a black wine gourd and drank a mouthful of it. The bitter antidote instantly seeped into his heart, reducing the pain he felt. Previously, I had to drink the antidote once every hour. Now, I have to drink it twice every hour. A year in the outside world has passed, but in the Grand Canyon, I've spent 18 years. Dongbua Shui sighed. 18 years. He looked at every single saber scar in the entire Grand Canyon, carefully observing every single part of it. Of course, he still ended up in front of the saber scar. Most of his time was spent on comprehending this saber scar, comprehending the profound mysteries of the laws within. Time to go. Dongbua Shui was very clear of the changes in his body. The 18 years of cultivation in the Grand Canyon had truly broadened his horizons. His accumulations were also incomparably deep. After all, this was a powerful existence from the deity world who intentionally created this Grand Canyon. It was all for the sake of unearthing the potential of the countless transcendence from a deity world. Who? Dongbua Shui transformed into a beam of light as he sped along the winding Grand Canyon. After flying for 1,200,000 li, he saw a towering, blood-creeping flower that was at least 1,000 meters tall. The blood-creeping flower had huge green vines and countless thin vines. The thin vines covered a radius of a few thousand meters, and there were also many beautiful red flowers. Blood-creeping flower. Dongbua Shui spoke. Master. A youthful voice rang out as the gigantic blood-creeping flower instantly shrunk and flew towards Dongbua Shui. Very quickly, it coiled around Dongbua Shui Ying's wrist, transforming into a bracelet. Master, I feel like I'm about to break through. A ripple transmitted into Dongbua Shui Ying's mind. Dongbua Shui smiled. No rush, no rush. Even if you can break through, don't. Wait till we enter the Xia people's world before you break through to the deity realm. The blood-creeping flower was very obedient. When it had just been nurtured, it was still very young. But now, it could already communicate with Dongbua Shui. In the Grand Canyon, Dongbua Shui had chosen a place where the flow of time was the fastest for it to grow. The flow of time, there was 100 times faster, and now it was very close to breaking through to the divine tier. However, the world of the Xia people was a mortal world. If the original transcendent of this world became a deity, they would usually be favored by the world will and would only be chased away after 10,000 years. In fact, if his cultivation was high enough within 10,000 years, he might even be able to refine the entire mortal world and become the master of this world. An outsider? It was impossible to refine the world will. The world will would not obediently allow him to slowly refine it. Instead, it would resist from the very beginning. An outsider must be weaker than a deity. Only by becoming a deity in the world of the Xia people would one be able to live for 10,000 years in the Xia people's world. In front of the world will of the Xia people's world, the blood-creeping flower was not a life form of the Xia people's world. Naturally, it would be rejected. Once it became a deity, it would no longer be able to enter the Xia people's world. Carrying the blood-creeping flower, Dongbua Shui continued forward. Soon, he found Persei, who was still immersed in his cultivation. Dongbua, you're here. Persei stood up and looked at the human carvings on the cliff in front of him. They contained the profound mysteries of the true meaning of only me. I really can't bear to leave this place. If you can't bear to leave, you can always return to the second vine leaf world and continue cultivating if you can't pass the rest of the vine leaf world. Dongbua Shui joked. Don't curse me. I will definitely pass through the sky-reaching vines smoothly, Persei said. Yes, let's pass together. Dongbua Shui laughed. Let's go. It's time to go to the third vine leaf world. Are Qin Huang and Maishan Master still trapped in the third vine leaf world? When my battle cheat doppelganger dissipated, they still hadn't passed, Persei said. Their battle chi doppelganger in the outside world had also completely dissipated. Following that, the two of them immediately transformed into a stream of light and rapidly advanced. After leaving the Grand Canyon, they continued flying along the main branch of the sky-reaching vine. After flying for 9 days, they arrived at the higher third vine leaf world. The third vine leaf world was very simple. There were only 2 arenas. On one of the arenas, there were 3 children with rosy lips and white teeth sitting cross-legged. These 3 children were all wearing undergarments, and beside each of them were 2 large hammers. On the other arena, there was a fat man wearing armor, sleeping soundly. In front of the 2 arenas, the golden-robed youth Ken Huang and the Maishan master simultaneously turned their heads to look at the sky. In the distance, Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and Persei, who had just finished a simple conversation with Senior Shiwei, were descending. You two are finally here. Ken Huang sighed. How satisfying. We've been stuck in the Grand Canyon for an entire year. You two are still trapped here? Persei looked at the 2 arenas. According to the information, the first 2 vine leaf worlds were considered fortuitous encounters with untapped potential. From the 3rd vine leaf world onwards, it will only get harder and harder. How come the 3rd one has already trapped you too? Is it really that difficult? You can try. The golden-robed youth Ken Huang was too lazy to explain. Dongbua Shui also carefully looked at the 2 arenas in front of him. The 3rd vine leaf world's test was very simple. One had to defeat all opponents in the 2 arenas. Once defeated, one could enter the 4th vine leaf world. The arena battles were so simple, but they were also a real test of one's strength. The fat hunk and those 3 children were all formed by a race. The Maishan master spoke. They aren't real life forms, but their strength is forever constant. I borrowed the true meaning of space to prevent those 3 children from surrounding me, allowing me to barely defeat them. However, that fat hunk didn't allow me to dodge, and I had to face him head-on. I'm still lacking. I've already tried both of them. Ken Huang, who was at the side, shook his head. A martial emperor can still win one arena battle, but I can't even win one. I'm so worried that my hair has turned white. Isn't your hair black? Persei teased. Look, Ken Huang pointed at his hair. Shua, it instantly turned white. Following which, his hair returned to black. AI, it's all white. It's just that I turned black. You can't even win 2 arena battles, and you're still in the mood to joke around. Persei laughed. Dongbua Shui was somewhat impressed. One had to know that they were all bound by oaths. If they failed the mission, they would undoubtedly die. Thus, they had no path of retreat. To lose 2 arena battles, Ken Huang could still joke around. His mentality was truly good. This is nothing. How many times have I faced death in the Temporal Temple's missions? Ken Huang laughed. If failing the mission means death, why would I die with a bitter face? Wouldn't it be better to die happily with a smile? All right. You're formidable. Persei leaped up and charged towards the fat hunk's arena. Let me try him. As he spoke, Persei revealed 8 arms. His aura surged like a rainbow, and his 8 arms faintly transformed into 8 different dragon heads as they smashed towards the fat hunk. The Maishan master immediately facepalmed. How pitiful. Ken Huang spoke as well. Pung, the fat hunk, who was originally lying on the ground, suddenly waved his palms. His palms were like palm leaf fans, and they were as fast as lightning as they clashed against 2 of the 8 incoming palms. Persei's expression immediately changed as his eyes widened. Xiao! He charged forward very quickly, but he was even faster when he was sent flying backwards. He was directly sent flying out of the arena by the fat hunk's slap, landing on the vine leaf ground. The surface of the vast vine leaf trembled slightly, but it was completely undamaged. Persei stared with wide eyes. You actually dared to clash head-on with him. The Maishan master shook his head. You're asking for humiliation. How would I know if I don't try? Persei retorted. However, his expression had turned solemn. He was very clear of the Maishan master's and Qin Huang's strength. Their close combat abilities weren't too far apart, but Qin Huang couldn't even win a single match. The Meishan master had relied on the true meaning of space to prevent the three children from ganging up on him. He couldn't win the other match either. One must know that the Meishan master had also grasped the true meaning of only me. This was troublesome. This was only the third vine leaf world. Donghua Shui Ying was watching attentively from the side. The information was indeed true. This was truly difficult. Pung, pung, pung. Percy I tried again, but he was once again blasted down by the fat hunk. The fat hunk's attacks seemed simple, but in reality, they were all very skillful. Percy I tried 3 times consecutively, but he couldn't help but shake his head. Donghua, among the 4 of us, you might be the only one who can pass through the third vine leaf world. Percy I looked towards Donghua Shuang. The Meishan master and Qin Huang couldn't help but look over in shock. Percy I, was he that confident in Donghua Shuang? Chapter 338. Don't flatter me. If you put me on a pedestal, it would be very painful if I fell. Donghua Shuang teased. However, his eyes were filled with a hint of battle intent. He was indeed not confident in the strength of that fat hunk. Don't be humble. Do you think I don't know you? Chunjiu's gaze turned towards the 3 children in the other arena. They were wearing undergarments and had red lips and white teeth. He smiled and said, I had nothing to say about the previous arena, but this one should be the one I have the most confidence in. Meishan master, Qin Huang, and the rest nodded. Donghua Shuang agreed as well. Percy I had 8 arms. He was the best among them in terms of dealing with encirclement. Let me try this arena. Percy I immediately leaped up and landed on the arena. The 3 adorable children who were sitting cross-legged on the arena opened their eyes at the same time. They looked at Percy I with cold eyes. What a cold child. Percy I instantly manifested 8 arms. His arms were thick and powerful. Gray metal could be seen on his arms. A terrifying aura started to spread out. His 8 arms seemed to have 8 different dragon heads roaring as they stared at the 3 children. These children looked adorable. However, they were actually formed from the laws of profound mysteries. One cannot be careless. Even Qin Huang was defeated by these 3 children. Go! One of the children shouted coldly. So. The 3 children each wielded a huge hammer. In an instant, they turned into phantoms and pounced over. So fast, Shuang, who was watching the battle from below, was startled. He was watching the battle for the sake of the upcoming battle. Even though it was recorded in the intelligence reports, it was still incomparable to watching it with his own eyes. The moment he saw it, he was startled. The speed of these 3 children was definitely faster than the 4 of them. They were like the wind, and their figures were somewhat illusory. On the arena, Percy I did not panic. His 8 palms enlarged like huge palm leaf fans. His palms would occasionally turn into fists, occasionally into claws. Time becomes the finger. There were all kinds of attacks. Some were soft, some were fierce, and some were mysterious. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 children had completely turned into the wind, their figures illusory. The 6 sledgehammers coordinated perfectly with each other, taking turns to smash down. It was like a windmill, but also like an incomparably precise machine. The sledgehammers smashed down one after another, and their coordination was exquisite, making it hard for one to breathe. Amazing. Seeing this, Shui Ying's expression couldn't help but change. These 3 children's speed is already extremely fast. When they work together, when the 6 hammers work together, their combined attack speed is so fast that no one can react. No wonder the Meishan master, who is known as the martial monarch, had to use the true meaning of space to prevent them from surrounding him and barely win. Qin Huang has the true meaning of wave world, which is enough to restrict and affect the 3 children. His true meaning of sword arts is profound and formidable in close combat, but he still lost. When Donghua Shuang saw this, he knew that Qin Huang's defeat was not unjust. In the real world, he would let them besiege him. He would have lost as well. His spear arts might be powerful, but he was still unable to defeat 3 opponents at the same time. Having 8 arms is indeed different. Dongbua Shui Ying revealed a smile. The opponents had 6 sledgehammers. Persei, on the other hand, had 8 arms. His defense was watertight. Although the opponents were fast, Persei's true meaning of only me combined with the true meaning of 8 dragons was superior to the Meishan Master and Qin Huang in close combat. This Persei is truly formidable. What I said earlier wasn't wrong. Out of all of us, he is probably the only one who dares to face these 3 children head-on. The Meishan Master sighed. To be able to cultivate the true meaning of only me to the point of giving birth to 8 arms, and to be able to unleash perfect strength with each arm. I really have to admire this Persei. Even though he cultivated the true meaning of only me, he did not have an extra arm or an extra pair of wings. This was because his innate body was already perfect. To have additional limbs on top of this foundation would normally be very uncoordinated, and one's strength might even decrease instead of increasing. Thus, to be able to produce 8 arms and to be able to unleash perfect strength with each arm was already an incredible feat, huh? Chunjiu suddenly roared, his face ferocious. He began to attack even more ferociously. Occasionally, he would even use his body to withstand 1 or 2 sledgehammer's attacks in order to attack his opponents with all his might. Pung, pung, pung. Finally, one of the children retreated explosively, and his body completely dissipated. Following the defeat of one child, the other 2 children were quickly defeated one after the other, and both of them disappeared. Hoo-hoo. On the stage, Persei's expression was somewhat pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Just now, his body had withstood over 10 sledgehammers. Fortunately, he had the deity armor and his powerful true meaning of only me body, which allowed him to withstand the blows. How is it? Persei looked below the stage, feeling rather pleased. Don't be complacent. Qin Huang sneered. You are so complacent after just 1 victory. If you are capable enough to defeat that fat hunk, then I will admire you. Persei immediately had a bitter expression. Let me try again. Persei felt that he had just won, and his momentum was at its peak. Immediately, he gritted his teeth and transformed into a stream of light, rushing towards the stage where the fat hunk was. Punk! The fat hunk sent another slap over. This time, Persei did not dare to face it head-on. Instead, he dodged and dodged. Pung, pung, pung. The fat hunk's palm was as fast as lightning, enveloping Persei with each slap. Persei could dodge once, but he could not dodge more than 10 times. Very soon, he was directly slapped on his arm, which then pressed down on his arm and directly crushed his body. Persei stared, and his entire body was sent flying out of the stage. Sigh. I lost even faster this time. Persei said unwillingly. You just won. You were too impatient. The Meishan Master shook his head. When fighting with him, you cannot be impatient. You have to be patient, and you cannot face him head-on. If you face him head-on, we will lose. I know. Persei was very troubled. This time they came in. All of them were under a lot of pressure. They had all signed oaths, but now they were all trapped here. Chunjiu could sense that even though he had been able to defeat the 3 children with his 8 arms, he was no match for this fat giant. Moreover, the gap seemed to be quite large. I lost in 2 stages. Persei and Wu Huang, you both won the battle with the 3 children. Qin Huang smiled. It seems that we still have to study hard. If our strength does not increase greatly, I am afraid it will be difficult to pass the 3rd vine leaf world, let alone the 4th and 5th vine leaf worlds. The Meishan Master and Persei nodded. Dongbua Shuang. The Meishan Master looked at Dongbua Shuang, who was deep in thought. There is no need to think too much. Let's go and try first. If we lose, we can fight again. Dongbua will not lose so easily, Persei said. Persei, you are very confident in Dongbua Shuang. Qin Huang was surprised. Although you won against the 3 children, you relied on your 8 arms. Wu Huang had a harder time winning than you, even against the 3 children, which were relatively easy. Dongbua Shuang would have a hard time winning, let alone the fat hunk at the end. Watch, and you will know, Persei said. I will go and try. Dongbua Shuang said. He watched from the side for a while and understood the two stages. He had some ideas in his mind. Of course, whether he would succeed or not, he would only know after the battle. Who? Dongbua Shuang leaped into the air and landed on the stage where the three children were. Although the three children from before had been destroyed by Chunjio's attack, three new children had formed on the arena. They looked exactly the same as before, all of them very adorable. However, all of them were seated cross-legged with their eyes closed, and a pair of hammers were placed beside them. When Dongbua Ying landed on the stage, the three children opened their eyes and looked at Dongbua Shuang. Attack! The three children picked up the two hammers beside them and turned into afterimages. Their speed was frightening as they charged towards Beifeng. Dongbua Ying stood there calmly, allowing the three children to attack him together. Who? The fiery red spear in his hand suddenly rose up, and the spear was like a rotating arc, carrying with it the terrifying destructive aura of the star meteor annihilation. In an instant, a terrifying vortex was formed, attracting the three children, and the spear was already thrusting forward. Chapter 339. The coordination between the six hammers was incomparably exquisite, as though they were an intricate machine. As the saying goes, two fists are no match for four hands. Only the eight-armed Persei would be able to deal with such a ferocious attack. Even Dongbua Shuang would not be able to deal with the six hammers with just a single spear. Boom! Dongbua Shuang did not dodge. Instead, he stabbed out with a spear. When the spear pierced out, the surrounding stars swelled and turned into dazzling flames, then rapidly shrank and collapsed into an extremely tiny dot. Although the scene was a little blurry, it was still clearly visible to the naked eye. When the spear stabbed out, the speed of the spear caused the spectators to reveal expressions of shock. Too fast. The current star meteor annihilation had already caused the Meishan master, Persei, and Qin Huang to be extremely shocked. Such a spear, the speed was peerlessly fast. Furthermore, the spear stabbed out in an arc, bringing with it an extremely strong gravitational force. One of the hammers closest to it tried its best to block the attack. However, under the influence of the gravitational force, as well as the spinning trajectory of the spear, it was ultimately unable to block the attack. The spear scraped past the sides of the hammers before piercing into a child. That child instantly dissipated into nothingness. Boom, boom, boom. The other four hammers had already arrived. Dongbua Ying's body abruptly merged into the nothingness, entering the mirage. Too fast. This spear art is too fast, Qin Huang exclaimed. Not only is it fast, but it also brings with it a grand aura. The grand aura of the star meteor annihilation surged forth, and the trajectory of the spear art was mysterious and unpredictable. It would be very difficult to block it. The child formed from the laws of profound mysteries of the array was instantly defeated and dissipated. With just a single move, the destructive power of this spear art is shockingly strong. This can be said to be a perfect spear. Regardless of speed, strength, or laws of profound mysteries, they're all shocking. The Meishan master also said, I didn't expect Dongbua Ying's strength to surpass us so quickly. He's even more powerful than the last time I saw him kill Yulan. Persei sighed in admiration. 18 years. Dongbua Ying did not waste his time. The remaining two children did not enter the Void Realm because the strength they could display would be reduced in the Void Realm. So I would rather be in the real world. Who? The terrifying spear art pierced out of the ethereal realm and into the real world. The spear was surrounded by phantoms, which were the phantoms of stars expanding, collapsing, and perishing. This terrifying might made it even more difficult for the remaining two children to resist. Even though they were defending with all their might, Dongbua Ying managed to shake off their coordination with a single spear strike. The second spear strike killed one of them, and the third spear strike killed the last one. He won the arena battle. Dongbua Shui Ying walked out of the ethereal realm and down the arena. At this moment, the laws of profound mysteries of the arrays on the arena once again condensed the three children. The three children continued to sit cross-legged with their eyes closed. As long as there was a challenger, they would continue to fight. Impressive, impressive. Qin Huang sighed in admiration. Dongbua Shuang, when I saw you execute your secret art in front of the black-white deity mountain, I knew that your talent far surpasses ours. After all, you didn't have any powerful experts to guide you, nor did you go to a place like the temporal temple to squeeze out your potential. Yet, you were able to create your own secret art in less than 200 years of cultivation. However, I didn't expect that not long after the battle at the black-white deity mountain, your strength would break through again. You have truly surpassed us. Amen. The Maishan master sighed in admiration as well. One of them was a reincarnator of the temporal temple, while the other was a former reincarnator who had escaped from the temporal temple. They had seen many geniuses before. Dongbua Shuang was definitely one of those who stood at the very top. Of course, there were also legends of peerless existences with a grade 1 true meaning. However, the two of them had never seen such existences before. Just based on what they had seen, Dongbua Shuang was definitely one of the strongest. I was right? Dongbua's combat power is indeed much higher than when he killed Yulan. Percy I sighed in admiration. I perfected some of my spear techniques in the Great Canyon. Dongbua Shuang replied. Dongbua Shuang didn't feel proud at all. This star meteor annihilation was indeed powerful, but it had many flaws. For example, it was a purely offensive spear technique. Secondly, the speed at which he attacked with his spear was extremely fast. After 18 years of cultivation, Dongbua Shuiying's foundations and his three true meanings had become more solid, and they had all improved. However, the star meteor annihilation had already reached a stage where Dongbua Shuiying was temporarily unable to perfect it. The speed at which he attacked with his spear was even above that of his extreme piercing. However, it wasn't coherent enough. Extreme piercing could allow one spear after another to unleash thousands of spear techniques in an instant. The speed of the star meteor annihilation alone surpassed that of extreme piercing. However, after stabbing out, one would have to accumulate power again, making it impossible for one to unleash a continuous attack. This couldn't be helped. At the same time, it would also weaken the ability to continuously unleash a spear technique. In this world, there wasn't a single spear technique that could be absolutely perfect. Attacking and defending at the same time, being unpredictable, soft, and fierce, this didn't make sense. Thus, spear techniques, blade techniques, and others all had their own set. Some specialized in this, while others specialized in that. However, it wasn't easy to create the star meteor annihilation. Creating another secret skill wouldn't be an easy task. With your talent, Dongbua Shuiying, with the guidance of an elder, you might be able to break through to the legendary grade 1 true meaning if you were to experience some life and death situations. The Maishan master sighed. If you succeed, you will truly reach the heavens in a single step. A grade 1 true meaning? Dongbua Shuiying laughed. A grade 1 true meaning? How difficult is that? Back when the temporal temple had invited him, they had mentioned that he had the potential to break through to a grade 1 true meaning. However, this potential still needed to be unearthed. The temporal temple was very good at unearthing potential. However, it was too merciless. If it was willing to help Dongbua Shuiying keep an eye on the Xia people, it would be able to return and participate in the war the moment it broke out. Dongbua Shuiying would have joined the temporal temple previously. Unfortunately, it was just a weapon spirit. Everything it did had to follow the rules set by its master. Furthermore, to a weapon spirit, it was searching for geniuses in the billions of mortal worlds, the deity world, and the dark abyss. It did not care if there was one less or one more. Breaking through to a grade 1 true meaning is too difficult. Just having talent isn't enough. One has to go through many trials and experience many setbacks. Only then can one transform. Qin Huang sighed. An absolute transcendent with a grade 1 true meaning is comparable to this Crimson Rock Mountain in terms of value. Persei sighed. The master of Crimson Rock Mountain would not even test those absolute transcendents. He would take the initiative to accept them as his disciple. Furthermore, they would not be honorary disciples, but personal disciples. Wake up, all of you. Donghua Shuang joked. Don't think too much. Let's take things one step at a time. What we need to do now is to defeat the opponents in these two arenas. Emin, Qin Huang, the Maishan Master, and Persei were all looking at the arenas. That's right. The third vine leaf world had obstructed them. Let me try this final arena. Donghua Shuang took a step forward. With a so, he turned into a phantom and leaped onto the arena. He was not in a rush to attack. Instead, he stood there with a spear in his hand, looking at the fat hunk who was snoring away. Only then did the fat hunk slowly crawl up. He wore a tight-fitting armor. His body was fat and huge, like a small mountain. Looking at Donghua Shuang in front of him, he said, "Brat, your combat power is considered not bad among the countless transcendents I've met. You were actually able to defeat Third Baby and the others so easily." He actually spoke. Qin Huang was surprised. Previously, he did not utter a single word when facing us. Oh, at most he would say things like scram or kill. This shows that he has never looked down on us. The Maishan Master shook his head. Persei sighed. That's right. They were all being suppressed. The difference in combat power was very obvious. Take this. Shuang let out a cold shout. He lifted the spear in his hand, arcing through the air in a revolving arc. It brought along a frightening power as it attacked. The surroundings of the spear even displayed the scene of stars being destroyed into extremities. Pong. The fat hunk struck out with his palm once again. His palm struck out, or more accurately, pushed out. His palm suddenly pushed out. It was as if a towering mountain was charging towards him. Donghua Shuang's spear art was fast and mysterious. It was very difficult to defend against. However, the fat hunk's palm was huge. It was like a cattail leaf fan, but also like a shield. It blocked Donghua Shuang's spear attack. Boom! The tip of the spear collided with the huge palm. Donghua Shuang could not help but stagger back more than 10 steps. Each step caused the ground to tremble. However, the fat hunk's body only trembled slightly. What terrifying power! Donghua Shuang took another step back. His body disappeared into thin air as he entered the mirage. Humph! The fat man sneered. He waved his giant palm and directly pierced into the void, reaching into the ethereal extent. The mirage boomed. Donghua Shuang walked out from the mirage. He frowned. Previously, the fat hunk's palm had entered the mirage, and his combat power was not affected at all. This meant that entering the mirage was useless against him. Hiding in the mirage is useless against me, the fat hunk said. You've reached the stage 3 of the mirage realm, so you should be able to change your body between real and illusory. This is an extremely powerful ability in close combat. Come, let me see your combat power. Ever since I retired from the Black Iron Cannon Army, it has been a long time since I fought against a transcendent who specializes in the mirage. Don't worry, I'm using this array to form a body, and my combat power is suppressed. I won't exceed the limits set by the Sacred Master. You still have hope of defeating me. Black Iron Cannon Army? Persei, who was below the arena, revealed a shocked expression. He was actually a member of the Bloodshed God Palace's Black Iron Cannon Army? Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Chapter 340. What is the Black Iron Cannon Army? The Maishan Master and Qin Huang asked curiously. The Bloodshed God Palace governs about 30% of the vast deity world. Persei, who had grown up in the deity world, immediately explained, in order to intimidate their territory, they naturally have many powerful armies under them. The Black Iron Cannon Army is one of the most famous of these armies. Even the most ordinary members of this army are at the peak of the deity realm. The Maishan Master and Qin Huang were inwardly shocked. The most ordinary members were all at the peak of the deity realm. It was no wonder they were a superpower comparable to the temporal island behind the temporal temple. After joining the Black Iron Cannon Army, their bodies will undergo a transformation using a secret technique, Persei explained. This is a secret technique that the Bloodshed God Palace does not impart to outsiders. After undergoing the transformation, every single one of them will be able to stand at the peak of the deity realm just by relying on their physique. After the transformation, all of them were fat and muscular. When they were in the immortal realm, they were all covered in special super heavy armor that was completely sealed off. Only their eyes were exposed. Their destructive power was even stronger than that of ordinary peak deities. They are all extremely savage. There was once a soldier from the Black Iron Cannon Army who passed by our hometown. In a fit of rage, he uprooted an entire sect from 13 planets nearby, massacring countless of them. The Maisha Master and Qin Huang were both shocked. The opponent on the arena should be the consciousness of a member of the Black Iron Cannon Army. Persei raised his head. Just by relying on this body, his combat power has been suppressed, but he has already gained some demeanor. I've heard that members of the Black Iron Cannon Army are this tyrannical in battle. On the arena, Dongbua Shuiying looked at the fat man in front of him and asked in astonishment, "So you are a true life form?" "Of course. I live in Crimson Rock Mountain." The fat man looked at Dongbua Shuiying and grinned, pointing upwards, in the space above the sky-reaching vine. Oh, Dongbua Shuiying understood. Other than Senior Shiwei, there seemed to be quite a few true life forms within Crimson Rock Mountain. I only descended here to deal with you transcendents. Come. Let's see if I can defeat you, a little fellow who has mastered the Mirage Doppelganger, within the limits set by the Sacred Master. Senior, you have to be careful. Dongbua Shuiying grinned, and immediately, numerous Dongbua Shuiying appeared on the stage. With a single glance, there were a total of 37 white-robed Dongbua Shuiying. Each of them held a long spear in their hands, and they formed 3 circles around the fat man, grinning at him. I'm going to attack now. Come. The fat giant waited cautiously. Even if his strength was limited and he could not surpass it, Qin Huang, Persei, and the Maisha Master did not make him feel any pressure at all. It was too boring. But now, Dongbua Shuiying made him feel some pressure. Who? Dongbua Shuiying's main body instantly disappeared, merging with one of his Mirage Doppelgangers. Boom! A long spear suddenly shot out like a dragon, spinning and whistling as it pierced towards the fat giant. Around it, there was a dazzling scene of stars expanding and collapsing, and the tip of the spear was the collapsing extreme point, bringing with it a vortex-like gravitational force. Moreover, because the spear was shot out at such a close distance, even though the fat giant was prepared for it, he was still shocked by its speed. He hurriedly swung his hand to counter it. Pung! The fat giant's attack was also very fast. Even though he reacted hastily, he was still able to block the attack. Senior, the Mirage Doppelganger is not that simple. A voice reverberated around the stage. The other Mirage Doppelganger attacked as well. At this moment, it was his main body. Boom! 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 Dongbua Shuiying attacked from all directions with his spear. With the help of the Mirage Doppelgangers, his attacks were fast and abrupt. Every single spear strike was fast and ruthless. Even I can't defend against an attack from all directions without any warning. The Maishan clan master's expression changed as he watched the battle unfold. Dongbua Shuiying's combat power has indeed surpassed ours. Qin Huang also felt a trace of fear. The true meaning of Mirage by itself does not have much offensive power. However, if it is used with other true meanings, it will be able to display a frightening, offensive power. No wonder he is known as the most frightening assassin with such a true meaning. Persei also sighed in admiration. Of course, an absolute transcendent with a grade 1 true meaning would be even more formidable if he were to assassinate someone. However, existences with a grade 1 true meaning were too rare. Even in the history of the mortal world, grade 2 true meanings were extremely rare. But in the billions of mortal worlds, in the entire deity world and dark abyss, there were many who had a grade 2 true meaning, but grade 1 true meanings were still just a legend. This was also why even the powerful existences of the deity world would immediately take the initiative to accept a person with a grade 1 true meaning as their personal disciple. Below, Percy I and the other two were shocked as they watched. The fat hunk was doing his best to defend. His palms were like palm leaf fans, and his palms were extremely fast. They crazily enveloped all directions, blocking Dongbua Shui Ying's spear attack time and time again. However, as the saying goes, long stop will break. Every time, he had to be extremely careful and use all his strength to block the attacks. But after a few times, he would eventually be hit. Sila. This spear pierced out from the side of the fat hunk's palms, brushing past the inner part of his arm before stabbing into the seemingly ordinary armor. This armor was indeed just an ordinary one formed by the energy of arrays. With a pu sound, the spear pierced through the armor and into the fat hunk's abdomen. Mn. Dongbua Shuang frowned. After his spear pierced into the fat hunk's abdomen with the terrifying, profound mystery of destruction, he felt an obstruction. It was as if the fat hunk's body was incomparably tough. After piercing an inch deep, the spear stopped. Pong! The fat hunk abruptly waved his hands in front of him. Dongbua Shuang pulled out his spear and retreated. At the same time, he moved to the position of another mirage avatar. The fat hunk's palms whizzed past Shui Ying's original position before stopping. He looked down at the hole on his chest plate and furrowed his eyebrows. He then tore off the armor on his upper body and flung it far away from the arena, producing a loud and clear sound. This armor formed by energy is completely useless. The fat hunk muttered, "If I were wearing the black iron cannon army armor," his upper body was naked, fat and muscular. The wound on his abdomen was rapidly healing. "Brat, you have some ability." The fat hunk looked at Shui Ying with a faint murderous glint in his eyes. One could see black seals starting to appear on the surface of his body. His entire white skin was covered in extremely mysterious and mystical black seals, and the aura of his entire being became much fiercer and fiercer. "It's starting." The final burst. Percy I and the other two held their breaths as they watched. Dongbua Shuang grinned. Is it the final moment? He had also received the information about the Crimson Rock Mountain from Percy I. He knew that this fat hunk would erupt at the final moment. This was also his final counterattack. Naturally, the threat he posed was much higher as well. Take this. Dongbua Shui Ying continued to attack with his spear. He was using actual combat to test his insights and train his spear arts. For a moment, Dongbua Shui Ying appeared in all directions of the fat hunk and attacked with his spear again and again. Ha! The fat hunk's upper body was naked, and his entire body was covered in runes. He looked incomparably ferocious. He crazily attacked in all directions, and the speed at which he waved his palms was much faster than before. In an instant, the surrounding area was enveloped by the power of his palms. Although Dongbua Shui Ying was able to change his position in the surroundings, he was actually suppressed for a moment. Pong! Just as Dongbua Shui Ying transformed into one of his mirage doppelgangers, the fat hunk's palm landed on his body. It was simply too fast. At this stage of the battle, one's instinctive reaction speed had already surpassed the speed of one's conscious reaction. Shuang was sent flying backwards by the force of the slap. Did I get hit? The fat hunk revealed an expression of joy. Wah! Dongbua Shui Ying's body suddenly dissipated in midair, disappearing without a trace. Nihility body? The fat hunk frowned. Senior, receive my full powered attack. Dongbua Shui Ying's voice reverberated in the surroundings. Suddenly, 36 white-robed Dongbua Shui Yings appeared around the fat hunk. All of them attacked with their spears at the same time, and each of them displayed the scene of stars expanding and collapsing. All of them attacked the fat hunk. This kid, the fat hunk's expression immediately changed. It was obvious that 35 of the 36 were fake. The scene of stars collapsing and collapsing was created by manipulating the laws of profound mysteries. After all, this secret skill was created by Dongbua Shuang. Naturally, he was able to simulate the exact same scene. If it was simulated by someone else, there would be a scene without the laws of profound mysteries. There were 36 of them, and it was impossible to tell which one was fake. The fat hunk immediately moved at high speed, trying his best to avoid being surrounded. At the same time, he tried his best to block all the spear shadows that came from all directions. Countless spear shadows enveloped him. 36 mirage doppelgangers attacked him at the same time. 35 of them were at the peak of demigod realm. Of course, to the fat hunk, they only had the effect of confusing him. However, the effect of confusing him was fatal. That was because the one true body was extremely powerful. Pooh! A long spear pierced through his body once again. Pooh! 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 Following the continuous attacks of the 36 spear shadows, one after another pierced through the fat hunk's body. After a total of 9 pierces, the fat hunk revealed a helpless smile, following which his body completely dissipated into nothingness. He had won. He had also won this arena battle. He had passed the 3rd vine leaf world. Dongbua Shui Ying revealed an excited expression. Only then did he jump off the arena. All right, I knew it. Dongbua, you would win. Persei walked over and fiercely patted Dongbua Shui Ying's shoulder. Why did you pat me so hard? You must be taking revenge on me, Dongbua Shui Ying muttered. At this time, the fat man had already reformed on the arena. He looked down at the arena and shouted, Brat, the reason you can beat me is not because your mirage avatars are enough to confuse me, but because your spear arts are fast enough. If your spear arts weren't this fast, I would have been able to block your 36 mirage avatars with my bare hands. That spear art of yours should be a secret art, right? What's it called? Star Meteor Annihilation. Dongbua Shui turned and said, The name isn't bad. It's truly amazing. To be able to create such a secret art at the stage 3 true meaning realm. The fat hunk shook his head. Brats nowadays are truly amazing. Amazing. Dongbua Shui laughed. Dongbua Shui, congratulations. The Maisha master walked over. Congratulations, Qin Wang said as well. Both of them had complicated feelings. I believe that as long as the 3 of you have a breakthrough in your combat power, you'll be able to win as well, Dongbua Shui said. All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's go. Persei said, Don't be too proud. There's still the 4th and 5th vine leaf worlds up ahead. It was rare that Dongbua Shui did not retort. Although he and Persei had entered the Crimson Rock Mountain together and had experienced many dangers, the 2 of them had similar personalities. In fact, when Persei had taken the initiative to bring him into the Crimson Rock Mountain, Dongbua Shui had already had a good impression of him. After interacting with him, he could feel that Persei was a person with a cold face but a warm heart. He was a person worth befriending. Gentlemen, I'll be moving forward first, Dongbua Shui said. He looked at the 3 people standing in a row in front of him. Persei, Maisha Master, Qin Wang, Dongbua Shui Ying's feelings were complicated as well. All of them had entered the Crimson Rock Mountain voluntarily or unwillingly due to various reasons. Be careful on the road, Persei suddenly said. Dongbua Shui nodded. I'll be going first. I believe we'll meet again up there. Of course, Qin Wang shouted. Whoosh! Dongbua Shui turned around and flew towards the main branch of the sky-reaching vine. Following the main branch, he soared into the sky and flew towards the 4th vine leaf world. Persei, Maisha Master, and Qin Wang looked up with complicated feelings. Now, the 3 of them were blocked here. Only Dongbua Shui continued to move forward. Chapter 341. Dongbua Shui flew along the main branch of the sky-reaching vine. The 3rd vine leaf below him was also shrinking at an extremely slow speed. On the 3rd vine leaf world, the figures of Persei, Maisha Master, and Qin Huang, who were standing beside the 2 arenas, were also becoming smaller and smaller. It was difficult to see them with the naked eye. Take care, Dongbua Shui said quietly. He then raised his head and looked up. Far above him, there was another huge vine leaf world. That was the fourth vine leaf world. Now, he was the only one going there. I didn't expect that I would be at the forefront of this crimson rock mountain. Dome was sweat, and he shook his head and smiled as he continued to fly. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. As he got closer and closer, Dome was Shuang could feel the pressure in his heart. This was because the information regarding the fourth vine leaf world made him feel a lot of pressure in terms of the possibility of death. The fourth vine leaf world was far more dangerous than the previous 3. I have no way out. I have to win. As Dongbua Shuang flew, he held the black wine gourd in his hand and drank a mouthful before putting it away. The bitter antidote spread throughout his body. He had long since gotten used to this bitterness, and he even liked it. After flying alone on the main branch of the sky-reaching vine for more than 9 days, Dongbua Shuang finally arrived at the fourth vine leaf world. The green-haired woman, Shi Wei, appeared from the main branch. Young Transcendent, congratulations on being able to reach the fourth vine leaf world. Shi Wei looked at Dongbua Shuang. Among the Transcendents who entered Crimson Rock Mountain this time, your talent and potential are indeed the highest. I was originally worried that your strength would increase too slowly, and it would be difficult for you to pass the third vine leaf world. However, I was worrying too much. Your speed of improvement is faster than I expected. Only those who can pass the fifth vine leaf world alive deserve to be congratulated, Dongbua Shuang said. It's good that you're so clear-headed. Shi Wei nodded. According to the arrangements of the Sacred Lord, although the first and second vine leaves are somewhat dangerous, they are more for the sake of unearthing your potential. The difficulty of the third vine leaf was much higher, directly eliminating most of the transcendence. Although the difficulty has greatly increased in the arena battles of the third vine leaf world, most people will hold back, and very few will kill with one strike. Dongbua Shuang nodded. The fact that Ken Huang and the other 2 were still alive proved that although the arena battles were difficult, the chances of them dying were very low. However, the last 2 vine leaves are different. They test your ability to fight to the death and many other aspects, Shi Wei said. You can die at any time. I understand. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Look over there. Shi Wei pointed at the gigantic vine leaf below. There was nothing else on this gigantic vine leaf except for a majestic building. The entire building was black and gold in color, and its lines were beautiful. That is the blood battle arena that is commonly seen in the immortal world. In the immortal world, many cultivators, for the sake of treasures and resources, do not hesitate to gamble their lives and enter the blood battle arena to fight. Shi Wei said, many deities and even world deities participate in the blood battle arena. The moment one enters the blood battle arena, only one side can come out alive, while the other side will die inside. Because it is a true blood battle where one's life is on the line, the blood battle arena will give out extremely high rewards in the deity world, attracting many deities to participate. Even world deities will participate. World deities will participate. 2 world deities will engage in a blood battle, and one will definitely die. This kind of battle will attract countless cultivators to watch. Shi Wei sighed. The blood battle arena is very common in the deity world. Dongbua Shuang nodded. He had chatted with Percy I many times, and knew that the deity world was also very strict and cruel. Even deities were reduced to slaves and sold. It was not strange for them to gamble their lives. It was just that it was too rare for powerful existences like world deities to gamble their lives. This is just an imitation of an ordinary blood battle arena. Shi Wei pointed at the huge blood battle arena structure. This time, you will meet your opponents after you enter. After one time sand, another batch of opponents will join you. After another time sand, a third batch of opponents will join you. Either all 3 batches of opponents die, or you die. Do you understand the rules? Understood. Dongbua Shuang nodded. He was alone, while his opponents would be split into 3 batches. Thus, he had to try his best to get rid of 1 batch within one time sand. Only then would he have an easier time dealing with the second batch. Otherwise, if all 3 batches joined hands, he would definitely die. Go! Shi Wei nodded. I wish you good luck. With that, Shi Wei's body entered the main branch of the sky-reaching vine. Donghua Shui Ying looked down at the blood battle arena structure. He immediately rushed down and landed on the surface of the huge vine leaf. I'm coming. Donghua Shui Ying walked towards the blood battle arena structure. This structure had an open passageway. This deep passageway led to the battlefield inside. Goo goo. Donghua Shui Ying picked up the black gourd and drank a mouthful of the antidote, allowing his condition to recover to its peak. Kill. Killing intent surged in Donghua Shui Ying's eyes. A fiery red spear appeared in his hands as he stepped into the deep passageway. Without any hesitation, he passed through the passageway and arrived at a huge blood-colored battle arena. The blood-colored battle arena was square in shape. It had a length and width of 10,000 li. Boundless, baleful aura permeated the surroundings. It seemed as though many experts had died on this blood-colored battle arena. The baleful aura and resentment were terrifying. Hua! Suddenly, an invisible spatial barrier appeared around the blood-colored battle arena, isolating it from the outside world. Donghua Shui Ying glanced at the invisible spatial barrier. He understood that in the celestial world, this was also used to prevent the shock waves of the battles on the blood battle arena from spreading to the spectator stands. Of course, there was another reason. It prevented the participants from escaping. Only one of them could leave this place alive. Once they entered, it would be too late for regrets. Donghua Shui Ying had heard from Persei that in the celestial world, there were some deity experts who decided to fight to the death for treasures they desired. However, after exchanging one or two blows with their opponents, they regretted their decision. Some even begged for mercy, admit defeat, but it was useless. The loser had to die. Chi, an hourglass appeared in midair. Within the hourglass was the glowing sands of time. As the sands of time flowed downwards, roar, 9 figures had already appeared on the blood-colored battle platform. They were all mutated beasts with silvery white fur and 4 hooves. These mutated beasts all had a single golden horn, and their eyes were also golden in color. There was a total of 9 of them, and they stared at Donghua Shui Ying. When the sands of time started to flow, the battle had begun. Once the sands of time ran out, the second batch of opponents would appear. Damn it! Donghua Shui Ying frowned. Although he had obtained a lot of information, he was still unable to identify the origins of these 9 mutated beasts. Only by knowing oneself and knowing one's enemy would one be more confident. However, the 4th Vine Leaf world was like this. He only knew that he had to fight against 3 batches of opponents on the blood battle arena. Who were his opponents? He had no idea. I can't care anymore. Oh, accompanied by their roars, the 9 mutated beasts instantly transformed into 9 rays of golden light and attacked Tung Qingshan simultaneously. Donghua Shui Ying wielded his fiery red spear. With a single step, he disappeared. Within the mirage, Donghua Shui Ying saw the 9 mutated beasts turn their heads to look at him. Their gazes seemed to pass through the mirage. However, they seemed to be hesitating. Very good. It seems that when they enter the mirage, their strength will be affected. Donghua Shui Ying instantly approached a single-horned, golden-eyed beast in the mirage. The spear in his hand immediately struck out with a killing move. The unbelievably fast star meteor annihilation had already been executed. The shaft of the spear rotated, and the spearhead pierced towards the closest single-horned, golden-eyed beast with a terrifying penetrative force. The single-horned, golden-eyed beast quickly tried to dodge the attack. At the same time, it waved its claws in an attempt to block. Pooh! Donghua Shui Ying's spear was not that easy to block. It merely brushed against the claws, and the spear rotated and pierced through the chest of the single-horned, golden-eyed beast. Chapter 342. The tip of the spear pierced through its skin, into its muscles, and even deeper into its internal organs. The terrifying destructive laws of profound mysteries spread outwards. That single-horned, golden-eyed beast opened its mouth wide. Despite being attacked, it still wanted to retaliate. However, its body immediately disintegrated and dissipated like gravel, turning into nothingness. A single-horned, golden-eyed beast had been killed. Roar, the other 8 single-horned, golden-eyed beasts were instantly affected. Not only were they not afraid, they all leaped into the mirage. Within the mirage, the 8 single-horned, golden-eyed beasts worked together, transforming into golden light as they flew towards Dongbua, Shuang. However, within the mirage, their speed was clearly slower. Dongbua Shuang wielded a spear and stood there without dodging. A ferocious gravitational force spread out in all directions, repelling the 8 single-horned, golden-eyed beasts. The speed of the single-horned, golden-eyed beasts decreased by a little. The main reason was that their bodies were not big enough, and their mass was not high enough. A stage 3 true meaning of Star's gravity domain was not that effective. The 8 tentacled mirage creatures and patrolling mountain beasts that he had met previously belonged to the category of beasts with high mass. Dongbua Shuang shifted his feet and instantly struck out with his spear. Roar, roar, these single-horned, golden-eyed beasts attacked at the same time. Some were high, some were low, some were high, some were low, some were left, and some were right. Dongbua Shuang still did not have any hesitation. A terrifying spear had already pierced out, and its speed did not decrease at all, bringing with it a scene of stars falling to the extreme. The revolving spear pierced into the body of a single-horned, golden-eyed beast. That single-horned, golden-eyed beast body also started to disintegrate. Although their bodies were tough, they could not withstand Dongbua Shuang's pure destructive secret skill. After piercing out with his spear, before he could even defend himself, the other 7 single-horned, golden-eyed beasts had already unleashed their killing moves. Their sharp claws turned into golden light as they waved about, or they opened their bloody mouths to bite. Actually, in that kind of situation, when surrounded by 8 beasts, most transcendents would choose to protect themselves first. They would not risk everything to kill one beast first, because if he insisted on killing one, he wouldn't have time to defend. Whoosh! The 7 single-horned golden-eyed beasts instantly surrounded him, and Dongbua Shuang's figure disappeared. 100 meters away, Shuang's figure appeared in another location. He was very close to a single-horned, golden-eyed beast, and he did not hesitate to stab out with his spear. The sudden appearance of Ying and his sudden killing move caught that single-horned, golden-eyed beast unprepared. The spear directly pierced through its mouth and through its brain. The terrifying laws of profound mysteries spread throughout its entire body, causing it to disintegrate in an instant. Kill another one. Shua, shua, shua. Dongbua Shuang's silhouette flickered as he pleased. Numerous Dongbua Shuang appeared around him, but they disappeared just as quickly. A long spear directly pierced through the back of a single-horned, golden-eyed beast. That single-horned, golden-eyed beast tried its best to resist, but it was still too late. Roar, roar, the remaining single-horned, golden-eyed beasts roared as they rushed out of the mirage without hesitation. Then, they scattered and escaped in all directions. Escape? Escape if you can't win? Dongbua Shuang's expression changed. He had to get rid of this first batch of opponents as soon as possible. Although this first batch seemed to be the weakest, each of them was stronger than General Kumeng and the rest. They probably had about 50 to 60% of the strength of the Lords of Ulan. After 18 years of cultivation, Dongbua Shuang's spear techniques had completely matured. This was especially true for his secret technique. The current star meteor annihilation was even faster than extreme piercing. If he were to fight against the Lords of Ulan again, Ulan wouldn't be able to defend herself. These single-horned, golden-eyed beasts were still a threat when they joined forces. If I had known this would happen, I would have pretended to be weak. Now that I have frightened them, they're starting to scatter and escape. Dongbua Shuang was somewhat vexed. Many thoughts flashed through his mind, but he did not stop fighting. He immediately entered the real world and released his gravity domain, doing his best to attract these single-horned, golden-eyed beasts towards him. At the same time, He used his speed to coordinate with his mirage doppelganger. In the blink of an eye, he caught up with the closest single-horned, golden-eyed beast. Pu Chi. In an instant, he killed this single-horned, golden-eyed beast. Dongbua Shui Ying immediately chased after another beast. However, the distance between them was clearly greater. If I continue to chase after them one by one, the distance between us will only increase. With a single thought from Dongbua Shui Ying, a total of 36 white-robed Dongbua Shui Ying appeared in all directions. Each of them wielded a long spear and chased after the beasts at high speed. A thick white fog even appeared around them, obscuring their vision. This caused the single-horned, golden-eyed beasts to be unable to discover their comrades. Roar! The single-horned, golden-eyed beasts seemed to be frightened by each of the Dongbua Shui Ying as they tried their best to dodge. It was hard for them to discern which one was real and which one was fake. However, what gave Dongbua Shui Ying a headache was the fact that his fantasy domain was useless. These single-horned, golden-eyed beasts could still rely on their own laws of profound mysteries to sense each other. Moreover, they were just life forms condensed from spirit arrays and were not real life forms. His true meaning of mirage was unable to drag their consciousness into his fantasy domain. Dongbua Shui Ying used his mirage doppelgangers to confuse the beasts while his main body stealthily transformed into nothingness within mirage and advanced. He advanced in a state of nothingness without making any sound. His body was one with the mirage, and these single-horned, golden-eyed beasts could not detect him at all. However, they were still very intelligent. They were scattered all over the blood battle platform, maintaining the furthest distance from each other. This caused Dongbua Shui Ying to rush about everywhere. Dongbua Shui Ying finally stabbed the last single-horned, golden-eyed beast to death on the blood-colored battle platform. The beast's head was pierced through, and it was fixed on the blood-colored battle platform. Its four limbs struggled for a while, but soon after, it completely disintegrated into nothingness. Fortunately, my body transformed into nothingness and became one with the mirage. That way, it would be hard to detect me. Dongbua Shui Ying heaved a sigh of relief. That was why these single-horned, golden-eyed beasts could not detect me. At least I managed to finish them off in a short period of time. As expected of an assassin, when one was stealthily hiding, it was very hard to detect them. Now that he was able to become one with the mirage, even a Maishan master could not detect him. Of course, this kind of concealment was still not strong enough. If the Maishan master had grasped the spatial deity heart, he would still be able to detect him. Of course, if Dongbua Shui Ying reached the mirage deity heart stage, it would be a whole new world. Such was the state of the realm. There was no such thing as invincibility. The only thing that mattered was who was stronger. Dongbua Shui Ying raised his head and looked at the hourglass in the air. The sand of time within the hourglass had almost completely flowed out. He had already thought of all possible methods. Even with the help of the mirage concealment technique, he was barely able to finish them off in a short period of time. And this was only the first batch of opponents that were the easiest to deal with. There were still 2 more batches of opponents that were getting stronger and stronger. Here it comes. The hourglass in the air finally ran out of sand. Then it turned around, and the sand within the hourglass continued to flow. 6 figures began to condense on the blood-colored battle platform. They were 6 humanoid existences that seemed to be condensed from water. Very quickly, they solidified. Their entire bodies were covered in deep blue armor, and they wore masks on their faces. Each of them carried a different weapon. At the same time, they emitted intense, surging water ripples. The ripples were vast and mighty, spreading throughout the entire blood-colored battle platform. Dongbua Shui Ying's expression changed slightly. The aura of these 6 deep blue humanoids seemed to be stronger than Yulan and Kenhuan. Shua. The 6 deep blue humanoids instantly turned into 6 streams of water. Their speed was even faster than Dongbua Shui Ying's, and they surrounded him. Wah! Dongbua Shui Ying's figure flashed, and he entered the mirage. The 6 streams of water also entered the mirage, and their speed within the mirage did not decrease at all. This caused Dongbua Shui Ying's heart to sink. Not good. The mirage does not obstruct them, and it does not affect their strength at all. This is troublesome. Apart from that, what made Dongbua Shui Ying feel even more pressured was that although the intelligence report had recorded many opponents on the blood-colored battle platform, the deep blue humanoids in front of him were not included in the report. As for their battle techniques, Dongbua Shui Ying had no idea how to deal with them. He could only vaguely guess from their flying technique that it was probably related to the laws of water. Dongbua Shui Ying held a long spear in his hand and did not evade. Instead, he faced the 6 deep blue humanoids head-on. The second batch of opponents is already so powerful. The third batch will definitely be even more difficult to deal with. I have to finish them off within the time it takes. I have to pretend to be weak and let them approach me. Only then will I be able to kill them faster. However, I'm not sure about their techniques. I have to be careful and not fall into the hands of these deep blue humanoids. Boom! When they were still tens of li away, the 6 deep blue humanoids, who were still in the form of water, suddenly made their move. A long arm extended out of the water, and the arm grew to tens of li long. It was wielding a huge weapon, and it shot towards Dongbua Shui Ying. Chapter 343. Within the Mirage Realm. Dongbua Shui Ying wielded his spear with great difficulty, barely defending against the indigo humanoid's attacks. Sometimes, he was even forced to use his Mirage doppelganger to evade the killing blow. This transcendent strength isn't that high. It's just that his Mirage technique is more troublesome. He's able to change his body's position. Everyone attack him from close distance. Even if he uses his Mirage doppelganger to appear, we can still kill him. Although these indigo humanoids were life forms condensed from arrays, they still possess some basic intelligence. They rapidly charged forward, their attacks becoming sharper and more ferocious. Shui Ying was clearly having a harder time. He was constantly changing his figure. His body kept changing positions, and he did his best to dodge. A large number of Mirage doppelgangers appeared around him. Relying on these doppelgangers to confuse him, Dongbua Shui Ying found it difficult to defend against every clash between their weapons. Pooh! After exchanging tens of blows, Dongbua Shui Ying was only able to barely, and luckily, use his Mirage doppelganger to change his position. His spear finally pierced the body of an indigo humanoid. That indigo humanoid revealed an expression of shock and anger, following which its body started to disintegrate. Under the star meteor annihilation, its body could no longer withstand it. Be careful. Although his spear technique strength is only on par with ours, the laws of profound mysteries are extremely destructive. Once we get hit, we'll die. Yes, be careful. This transcendent strength isn't that high. It's only because he can use his true meaning of Mirage to change his position that he's so hard to deal with. As long as we find an opportunity, as long as you hit where his true body is, he will be defeated and killed. Amen. Seize the opportunity and kill him in one fell swoop. These indigo humanoids discussed amongst themselves. Their desire to kill Dongbua Shui Ying grew even more intense. Occasionally, their attacks would sweep across the battlefield, hoping to coincidentally hit Dongbua Shui Ying's Mirage doppelganger. Pooh! The second indigo humanoid was hit as well. Once again, its body disintegrated. Cooperate well. Every time he repels our weapons, he'll immediately change his Mirage doppelganger's position. Repelling our weapons gives him enough time to teleport. We need to cooperate well. The remaining indigo humanoids were still filled with hope for victory. But for some reason, Dongbua Shui Ying seemed to be very lucky. He was always able to block the attacks by a hair's breadth. When the third indigo was hit, the remaining 3 finally realized that something was wrong. Although Dongbua Shui Ying had killed 3 indigo tribe members, and although he purposely did not kill them too quickly, battles of their level were still extremely fast. Even though Dongbua Shui Ying had purposely slowed down, he still managed to kill 3 indigo tribe members within 2 breaths. 3 of their companions died one after another, causing the remaining 3 to finally be on guard. This was because they realized that even if the 3 of them were to team up against Dongbua, Shui, Ying, they would not be able to pose much of a threat to him. Secondly, he did not seem to be that strong. So how did he manage to kill 3 of them in such a short period of time? No matter how good his luck was, it couldn't be this ridiculous. This transcendent is hiding his strength. Run. Quick, scatter and escape. Join up with the next batch and kill this transcendent. These 3 Indigo tribe members were not real life forms, so they already had some basic rules of conduct. If they were confident, they would kill the transcendent tribe member. If not, they would split up and try their best to preserve their lives. Then, they would join up with the next batch and kill the transcendent tribe member. Should we run now? Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes flashed coldly. The moment the Indigo tribe member tried to escape, Dongbua Shui Ying immediately increased his speed and pounced towards the Indigo tribe member. With the obstruction of the gravitational territory and the mirage, Dongbua Shui Ying instantly caught up to the Indigo tribe member. His spear spun and stabbed out, and the scene of star meteor annihilation appeared. However, this time, the speed of the spear was much faster than before. The speed of the spear was so fast that the Indigo tribe member could not even block it with his halberd. The spear had already pierced through the Indigo tribe member's body. Another Indigo tribe member was killed. This is the true speed of star meteor annihilation. I was just playing with you guys. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes were filled with killing intent. He immediately pounced towards another Indigo tribe member. However, the other 2 Indigo tribe members had already left the mirage and started to escape in different directions. Do you think you can escape? Dongbua Shui Ying immediately dispersed his body and merged with the mirage, following which he moved forward in his illusory state and silently approached one of the Indigo tribe members. Although the Indigo tribe member was escaping in a panic, it did not know where Dongbua Shui Ying was. Although it was smart enough to run in a straight line, the blood-colored battle platform was only so big. It had to fly in another direction. Not long after, it bumped into Dongbua Shui Ying. Puff! Another sudden and fatal spear strike. The last 2 Indigo tribe members that escaped were easily dealt with separately. Dongbua Shui Ying walked out of the mirage and looked at the hourglass in the sky above the blood-colored battle platform. There was still a small amount of sand left in the hourglass. He could not help but smile. Pretending to be weak is indeed much easier. Previously, when he killed the weaker, 9-headed, single-horned golden-eyed beast, he barely managed to kill it within the range of time sand. This time, he had to deal with 6 stronger Indigo tribe members. By pretending to be weak, he managed to kill 4 of them. In the end, only 2 of them managed to escape in different directions. He had more than enough time. Pretending to be weak was very simple. He just had to slow down the speed of his star meteor annihilation. It was even slower than extreme piercing. This way, the threat would be greatly reduced. Most Indigo tribe members would be able to handle it. They would only succeed once in a while by relying on the Mirage doppelgangers to change their positions. The Indigo tribe members only felt that something was amiss when 3 of them died. How could there be such a coincidence? Their strength was so close to theirs. How could they have unknowingly killed half of them? There's still the last batch. Dongbua Shui Ying stood on the blood-colored battle platform and waited silently. Finally, in midair, the sand in the hourglass had all flowed and started to flow again. 3 figures began to condense on the ice-cold, blood-colored battle platform. The 3 of them were all very skinny and lean in human form. They were about 1.5 meters tall and had rather long arms. They had a pair of eye-catching, sharp claws. Their skin was dark green and their waists were wrapped with rags. Dongbua Shui Ying's heart sank. His expression changed. Hunters. Dongbua Shui Ying's heart was filled with anxiety and anger. This was the first time he received information about his opponents after entering the blood-colored battle platform. The previous 2 batches of opponents were not recorded in his intelligence reports. But this time, the skinny figures that appeared were recorded in his intelligence reports. They were known as hunters. How could they be hunters? Why not Howling War General? Why not Thunder Emissary? Countless thoughts flashed through Dongbua Shui Ying's mind. What should I do? How should I deal with them? Hunters. They were opponents that Dongbua Shui Ying did not wish to meet. After all, they specialized in restraining Dongbua Shui Ying. Hunters were similarly life forms condensed from a race. However, their combat techniques were higher, and they had grasped hold of the Grade 2 deity heart, the minute deity heart. The true meaning of minute was a grade higher than the Grade 3 true meaning, the true meaning of particles. As a Grade 2 true meaning, even if it was restrained, it would not be a threat to Dongbua Shui Ying if it was only at the peak of the Stage 3 realm. After all, Dongbua Shui Ying had 3 true meanings and secret skills. But the moment he broke through, his true meaning of minute would reach the deity heart realm. Ordinary armors, deity weapons, and material defenses like battle chi would be completely ineffective against the attacks of the minute deity heart. Even though Dongbua Shui Ying had grasped hold of the nihility body and his defensive capabilities had greatly increased, strictly speaking, in terms of offense, movement, and defense, his defense was still the weakest. Because he had secret skills for offense. In terms of movement, he could easily change his position. Only his physical body was relatively weaker. Come, even though Dongbua Shui Ying knew it would be troublesome, he had no other way out. Once he entered the blood-colored battle platform, either he or his opponent would die. There was no other possibility. Fortunately, I've grasped hold of the nihility body, allowing me to take a gamble. Otherwise, I would have died in a single exchange. Dongbua Shui Ying thought. Actually, if he did not have the Mirage technique, he would not even be able to deal with that fat hunk from the Black Iron Cannon Army in the Third Vine Leaf world. Clearly, being able to reach this stage, Dongbua Shui Ying's combat power was still sufficient for him to fight. 3 of them. Dongbua Shui Ying's thoughts raced. It would be very taxing for him to fight one-on-one. 1 against 3? The 3 skinny hunters looked at each other with their dark yellow eyes, following which their figures blurred, turning into 3 streaks as they rapidly approached each other. Chapter 344. Dongbua Shui Ying did not enter the Mirage. This was because he was very clear that the hunters who had grasped the complete Lepton deity heart could easily traverse between the real world and the Mirage. The Mirage would not be able to restrict them at all. Moreover, in terms of speed, the hunters had reached a speed of 1,600 kilometers per second, which was completely above his. Boom! The surrounding space seemed to be distorted by a formless gravitational force, crazily repelling the 3 hunters. The figures of the hunters had all turned illusory, like ghosts. Their movements were also very soft. Suddenly, one of the skinny hunters waved its sharp claws. It seemed to be very gentle and casual, but the space around it did not calm down, nor did it create any ripples. The Lepton deity heart is indeed worthy of being called thoroughly meticulous. Dongbua Shui Ying held a fiery red spear in his hand. When the 3 hunters approached, he suddenly moved at high speed and took the initiative to welcome one of them. Without hesitation, he stabbed out with his spear. Without a doubt, his spear art, Star Meteor Annihilation, was purely offensive and destructive. Attack? He was not afraid. Pooh! The hunter that was attacked immediately waved its 2 sharp claws to block. When it first received the attack, it was also affected by the whirlpool-like gravitational force. However, the movements of its claws were very meticulous and simple. With a slight adjustment, when the whirlpool-like gravitational force turned into a repulsive force, its claws also changed again. Everything seemed so gentle and delicate. This spear attack, other than the strange rotation of the spear art itself, was mainly focused on speed. Super fast speed. Dongbua Shui Ying's movement technique might not be as fast as them, but the speed of his spear art was even faster than the speed of his opponent's claws. Clang! The pair of sharp claws still closed, blocking the spear attack. The hunters seemed to have an indescribable sense of beauty when they fought. Every move of theirs was calculated to the extreme. Even if their movements were slowed down by 100,000 times or 1,000,000 times, it would still be very difficult to find any flaws. Moreover, the energy of heaven and earth was also being used by them in an incomparably exquisite manner. This level of control was shocking. This was the true meaning of Lepton. Moreover, it had reached the deity heart stage. The spear and the sharp claws clashed. The sharp claws contained an extremely restrained power that was rapidly permeating through. All material defenses were useless against this power. However, the profound mysteries of the laws of destruction contained within the spear were also being transmitted. This was a secret skill created by the fusion of the true meaning of star and extreme piercing. Its destructive power was above that of extreme piercing. After 18 years of perfecting it, it was almost comparable to the extreme piercing deity heart. In terms of attack and destruction, he naturally surpassed his opponent. The laws of profound mysteries of both sides collided. The power contained in the sharp claws was instantly destroyed. The hunter's body shook slightly, and the impact was neutralized. At this time, the other two hunters were already approaching. Appear. With a thought from Dongbua Shui, 36 Yongs of Dongbua Shui appeared in the surroundings, and Dongbua Shui himself disappeared. Mirage Doppelganger? The three hunters simultaneously released their fluctuations. The fluctuations of the true meaning of Lepton completely enveloped the entire blood-colored battle platform. The entire space was filled with formless attacks. Although it was just a simple fluctuation of the laws of profound mysteries, it wasn't something that Dongbua Shui Ying's Mirage Doppelgangers could defend against. One after another, the Mirage Doppelgangers started to dissipate. Ever since Dongbua Shui Ying reached the Stage 3 realm, it was very difficult for his Mirage Doppelgangers to be dealt with on a large scale. However, the hunters managed to do it. Firstly, it was because they had reached the Grade 2 Deity Heart stage. Secondly, it was because of the uniqueness of the true meaning of Lepton. Why? Only one of Dongbua Shui Ying's doppelgangers didn't dissipate. That was Dongbua Shui Ying himself. He stabbed out with his spear abruptly towards the attacking hunter. Under the sudden attack, the hunter hurriedly turned around and defended with all his might. Finally, one of his sharp claws blocked Dongbua Shui Ying's spear. Kill. The other two hunters immediately attacked. Shua. Dongbua Shui Ying immediately dissipated and merged with the entire mirage. Previously, the three hunters were still some distance away from each other, so he could seize the opportunity to attack. However, they were now standing together. Given the speed of the deity heart of Lepton, if his attack failed and he didn't escape, he would be easily killed under their combined attacks. Merged with the mirage, the three hunters' dark yellow eyes stared at the mirage. The complete deity heart of Lepton allowed them to easily see through the entire mirage. They could even see Dongbua Shui Ying, who had merged with the mirage. A Stage 3 concealment technique couldn't avoid the detection of the space deity heart or the Lepton deity heart. If it was the star deity heart, he might be able to hide. After all, the space deity heart and the Lepton deity heart were both good at scouting. He actually merged with every single mirage within the blood-colored battle platform. The three hunters exchanged glances. Attacking him is equivalent to attacking the entire mirage within a 5,000-kilometer radius. In reality, Dongbua Shui Ying could merge with the mirage within a 5,000-kilometer radius. Unfortunately, the blood-colored battle platform was only so big. Attack. In an instant, the three hunters no longer hesitated and attacked. If they didn't attack, they had no other choice. Boom, 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 the frenzied attacks hit the mirage one after another. It really hurts. Dongbua Shui Ying's body turned illusory and merged with the mirage within the blood-colored battle platform. Naturally, it enveloped the three hunters as well. He could feel their attacks, penetrating and destroying his defenses. This was already his most heaven-defying defense. With the help of the 10,000-kilometer mirage, he was completely dispersed. However, after one round of attacks, his life force was depleted by 1/10,000th. One had to know that their attack speed was extremely fast. If they continued to attack, it wouldn't be long before they could attack 10,000 times. Swish. Next to one of the hunters, Shui Ying appeared out of thin air. Very abruptly, he stabbed out with his spear. Clang! It was blocked. Before the three hunters could attack, Dongbua Shui Ying immediately disappeared and merged with the mirage once again. In the sky above the blood-colored battle platform, the green-haired Shi Wei and a white-haired elder with a youthful face were looking down at the blood-colored battle platform. With their strength, they could naturally see everything clearly. This kid isn't a crazy person. Even at the brink of death, he is still extremely calm. The white-haired elder looked down and smiled. Right now, his life force is being depleted continuously. Most cultivators would go crazy under the pressure of death. They might even fight hysterically. When one's life force explodes, they might win by luck. But luck can't be used 3 times. Only true strength can be relied on. He would rather endure the depletion of his life force and find an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. His judgment was accurate. Dongbua Shuang indeed had such a personality. He didn't like to force himself at the brink of death. Previously, when he was surrounded by more than 100 8-clawed mirage creatures, he was lucky enough to have a breakthrough in his true meaning of star, which greatly increased the power of his secret skill. But deep in his heart, Dongbua Shui didn't like such breakthroughs. He had watched the creation of heaven and earth, and he had accumulated insights. In addition, he was at the limit of a bottleneck, and it was just a small bottleneck, not a big one like the deity heart. Under the pressure of life and death, there was indeed a higher chance of breaking through. But no matter what, Dongbua Shui didn't like being forced into such a situation. He preferred to cultivate normally. He wanted to accumulate strength and make breakthroughs naturally. Shi Wei nodded. Forefather is right. Even someone as arrogant as she was very respectful in front of this elder. Although no one in Crimson Rock Mountain could leave, they were still very respectful to this forefather. Forefather, do you think this young transcendent can win? Shi Wei asked. His life force has already been depleted by more than 30%. Soon, it will be reduced to half. The attacks of the hunters were very crazy and fast. Little kid Shi Wei, do you feel it? The white-haired, youthful-faced elder looked downwards. This kid's consciousness is still incomparably calm, looking for any opportunity. He's really a good seedling. I can see that he's still very young. He has only cultivated for about 200 years, but he already has such strength and determination. Truly amazing. Do you think he can win? I feel that. Before he could finish his words, on the blood battle platform, Dongbua Shui launched another sneak attack. Pooh! It was an extremely sudden sneak attack from the back. The ambushed hunter, who was previously attacking the mirage with all his might, couldn't help but do his best to defend. But Dongbua Shui's spear art was too fast. This time it was just a little bit off the boundary between life and death. The spear pierced through the thin and small body. Under the terrifying attack of the laws of profound mysteries, the body immediately started to disintegrate. Dongbua Shui revealed an excited expression. His face was sickly pale, and his life force had already been depleted by more than half. He had finally succeeded. He felt that if his spear art was fast enough, coupled with the Mirage Doppelganger's sudden attacks, he should be able to succeed. Time and time again, he had pursued faster spear arts, more sudden attacks, and better opportunities. He had seized a moment when they were attacking the Mirage to launch a sneak attack. He had failed time and time again, but he had finally succeeded. I succeeded once. The white-haired, youthful-faced elder revealed a smile. The next step will be much simpler. The threat of the two hunters' joint attacks was greatly reduced. Every time Dongbua Shui launched a sneak attack, he would have to attack several times before retreating into the Mirage. After consuming another 10% of his life force, Dongbua Shui killed another hunter. Only one was left? Dongbua Shui didn't need to run anymore. He could fight one-on-one. Forefather, do you think he can pass the 5th Vine Leaf World? Shi Wei asked. No one can predict the future, the white-haired, youthful-faced elder said calmly, his voice carrying a hint of disappointment. Shi Wei nodded silently. That's right. Before the sacred master died, Who would have thought that a powerful existence like the Sacred Master would die? The past was fixed, but the future had countless possibilities. Pooh! Dongbua Shui Ying's long spear pierced the ribs of the last hunter. The hunter's dark yellow eyes widened, staring at Dongbua Shui Ying unwillingly. Then it collapsed and dissipated. I won, I won. I finally won. I knew I would win. I definitely will. Dongbua Shui stood on the blood-colored battle platform, holding his long spear and roaring excitedly. His eyes were filled with madness. Just now, his life force was continuously being consumed, and he felt like he was nearing death. He was under a lot of pressure, but he tried his best to stay calm. He believed that his strategy was correct. This was also the only way he had a higher chance of winning. All he could do was to find a better opportunity to attack, and to strike faster and more perfectly. In the end, he succeeded. He passed the fourth vine leaf world. Shi Wei and the white-haired, youthful-faced elder looked down at the white-clothed young man who was shouting excitedly. They couldn't help but smile. He's still a kid, after all. He's too young. The white-haired, youthful-faced elder laughed. He then turned around and took a step forward, breaking through the air and leaving. Chapter 345. Dongbua Shui raised his head and looked around. He took a deep breath. The murderous aura and resentment that permeated the blood-colored battle platform made him feel extremely happy. After the battle, his mood relaxed, and endless fatigue surged in his heart. This feeling of relaxation and exhaustion caused Shui Ying to involuntarily reveal a grin. He knelt down and caressed the ice-cold, blood-colored battle platform. Feeling the cold touch, he muttered, I've won. So what if it's the blood battle platform? I've still won. I've already passed through the fourth vine leaf world. Now all that's left is the fifth vine leaf world. Jingxiu, wait for me. He then stood up and touched the stellar fire cloud spear in his hand. It was this spear that had accompanied him all the way until now. Let's continue. We'll keep going. Dongbua Shui Ying smiled and walked out of the blood-colored battle platform. The space barrier around the platform had disappeared. Following the entrance, he quickly walked out of the blood-colored battle platform. Whoosh! After exiting the blood-colored battle platform, Dongbua Shui Ying immediately soared into the sky and continued to fly along the main branch of the sky-reaching vine. He was surrounded by an endless starry sky, and there were countless stars in the distance. It was completely silent. Dongbua Shui Ying looked at this lonely scene and smiled as he flew. As the pain from the voodoo poison became more intense, Dongbua Shui Ying took out the black gourd and drank a mouthful of the antidote. 8 long days passed as he flew. Dongbua Shui Ying flew to almost the top of this space. He looked up and saw an invisible space membrane. Clearly, above him was another space. The main branch of the sky-reaching vine continued to extend into the space membrane until it reached a higher space. As long as I can pass through the fifth vine leaf world, I'll be able to enter the higher space along the sky-reaching vine and become an honorary disciple of Crimson Rock Mountain. I'll be able to obtain many treasures that even the great world deities would covet. Dongbua Shui Ying was looking forward to that day. Of course, there's only one obstacle left. Dongbua Shui Ying's gaze landed on a huge vine leaf. This was the fifth vine leaf. There was nothing on the vine leaf except for the leaf itself. The transcendence of the Xia people. Next to Dongbua Shui Ying, the green-haired woman, Shi Wei, appeared on the main branch of the sky-reaching vine. She looked at Dongbua Shui Ying with a hint of anticipation in her eyes. Congratulations on reaching the fifth vine leaf. The fifth vine leaf seems to be the easiest out of all the leaves, but also seems to be the most difficult one. It varies from person to person. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. As long as you land on the fifth vine leaf and your body touches the fifth vine leaf, you won't be able to hear, see, or even feel anything. What you have to do is to live on the fifth vine leaf for 3 years. If you survive, you'll have won, and you'll become an honorary disciple of my Crimson Rock Mountain. If you can't, your soul consciousness will collapse, and you'll die. Shi Wei looked at him. Do you understand? Yes. Shui Ying nodded. He had the intelligence reports from the Xia clan and Chunjio, so he was naturally clear about the fifth vine leaf world situation. This was the only vine leaf world that did not require any battles. It might seem simple, but in reality, according to the intelligence reports, it was considered to be extremely difficult. Back in the deity world, there were quite a few transcendents overflowing with talent who were stopped at the fifth vine leaf world, their souls and consciousnesses crumbling and dying. Go! Shi Wei's eyes were filled with anticipation. It had been a long time since a protector disciple had been born after her master's death. Dongbua Shuang took out the black gourd and drank a mouthful of the 100-bitter restoration antidote. Then, without hesitation, he dived towards the fifth vine leaf world. Shi Wei was also looking down at them. She softly whispered, "Among the few of them, Dongbo Shui Ying is the one with the highest innate talent and potential. But compared to the other three, Dongbo Shui Ying is still too young. I don't know if he can pass the fifth vine leaf world. I hope this genius transcendent doesn't die here." She wanted to help, but she didn't have the authority. Everything was decided by the sacred leader. She had to follow the rules. The test of the fifth vine leaf world. Back then, the sacred leader had taken into consideration the transcendents who came to challenge it. Most of them had reached the limit of demigods and had cultivated for at least 2,000 years. Only those who had reached a point where they couldn't improve any further would come. Therefore, the test was naturally difficult. The first four were fine, but the fifth one tests one's heart. Shi Wei was worried. Dongbua Shui Ying's heart is very strong, but that's only when compared to the majority of mediocre transcendents. Compared to transcendents like the Meishan Master, Qin Huang, and Percy I, I'm afraid he won't have much of an advantage. Cultivating one's heart required time. For example, the gods who had lived for millions of years, all of them had incomparably strong hearts. Because their hearts were weak, they wouldn't be able to live for that long. As time passed, they would feel older and older, more and more tired, and more bored. They might even start to doubt their own path of cultivation, and eventually their true deity heart would collapse, and they would die. Therefore, the longer one could live, regardless of whether they were righteous or evil, they would all have their own beliefs. And Dongbua Shuang had only lived for 200 years. Who? Dongbua Shuang swooped down and only slowed down when he neared the giant vine leaf. Then his feet slowly landed on the ground. The moment his feet touched the vine leaf, everything was pitch black. Complete silence. My eyes can't see, my ears can't hear, and I can't sense any laws of profound mysteries. Dongbua Shuang felt incomparably lonely. He couldn't feel anything except his own heartbeat and the flow of blood in his body. Of course, there was also the pain from the voodoo poison that was slowly increasing. It was as if he was the only one left in the world and nothing else. Dongbua Shui Ying sat down cross-legged and silently sat. He was used to this absolute loneliness. Gradually, time seemed to slow down. Fortunately, he could tell time from his heartbeat and the pain from the voodoo poison. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to tell how much time had passed. Dongbua Shui Ying's heart was indeed very strong. Since he was 8 years old, he had been training his spear like a madman. He was used to being alone since he was young. And when he was 22, he lived alone in the Black Wind Deity Palace at the bottom of the Black Wind Abyss for a whole 6 years. After that, the six-ghost grudge voodoo poison tortured him for 100 years. Before that, Dongbua Shui Ying would drag it out until the very last moment before he consumed the antidote. He had to fight against himself every single day. He had to endure to his limits every single time. Under this kind of torture, Dongbua Shui Ying's willpower had become terrifyingly strong. Although he couldn't feel anything from the outside, ordinary mortals would probably collapse and go crazy within the time it took to brew a cup of tea. Even ordinary transcendents would find it hard to endure for a month. This was much harder to endure than simple torture. In this absolute loneliness, even his thoughts would become very slow, as though the entire world had turned into nothingness. Dongbua Shui Ying sat cross-legged in the fifth vine leaf world. According to the pain caused by the voodoo poison, Every time he reached his limit, he would consume the antidote. After a year, he was very calm. This calmness caused Shi Wei, who was watching in the dark, to exclaim, "This young transcendent has only cultivated for 200 years. How can his heart be so calm?" Even if the six ghosts, grudge, voodoo, poison can also train one's willpower, how can he endure a year of absolute loneliness like this? Who? From below the main branch of the sky-reaching vine, a figure flew up. It was the Maishan Master. The Maishan Master flew up high and saw Dongbua Shuiying, who was already sitting cross-legged in the fifth vine leaf world. He couldn't help but reveal an expression of surprise. Dongbua Shuiying came here a year earlier than me. After a year of closed-door training in the fifth vine leaf world, his expression is still very calm. That's really impressive. Usually, as one's heart fluctuated, their expression would change as well. Dongbua Shuiying's expression was calm. Evidently, the 1 year of closed-door training had little effect on him. Congratulations. The green-haired Shi Wei looked at the Maishan Master calmly. This is the final fifth vine leaf. Chapter 346. The green-haired woman, Shi Wei, also had a preference. Although this Maishan Master had also successfully arrived at the fifth vine leaf world, and because he had cultivated for a long time, his chances of passing the death trial were relatively high. However, Shi Wei was more inclined towards Dongbua Shuiying. After all, his innate talent and potential were higher. As for Maishan Master, if this was the era when the Divine Lord was still alive, he would only be an ordinary guardian disciple. However, Dongbua Shuiying was qualified to be groomed. She briefly explained the rules to Maishan Master, and Maishan Master swooped down toward the fifth vine leaf. He also landed and sat down cross-legged. Time passed day by day. Under the absolute loneliness, Dongbua Shuiying could not help but gradually become irritated. Although he could tell that only 2 years had passed from the voodoo pain and his heartbeat, under the absolute loneliness, he felt more unbearable than the 100 years he had been tortured by the voodoo. Although he had been tortured by the voodoo before, at least he could see the sun, feel the breeze, see the night sky, eat steaming buns, and travel with Jing Xiu. But now, there was only nothingness. Soon, 2.5 years have passed. It's very close to 3 years. Dongbua Shuiying thought silently. However, he could no longer maintain his calm expression. Sometimes his brows furrowed, and sometimes he looked slightly ferocious. The test of the fifth vine leaf world is also called the death trial, especially the instant when the 3 years are up. If you survive that instant, you'll live. If you don't, you'll die. Dongbua Shuiying thought to himself. Shi Wei watched from afar. She was also calculating the time. 3 years is almost up. Don't fail at the final instant. On the gigantic fifth vine leaf, Dongbua Shuiying's expression was ferocious and furious. It was obvious that he was about to go crazy, but he forced himself not to recklessly attack his surroundings. Buzz! Suddenly, a wave of energy descended. Dongbua Shuiying's expression suddenly became incomparably calm. It's here. Shi Wei stared. Be easy. A ripple enveloped his spiritual consciousness. Dongbua Shuiying instantly understood. Is this the final moment? You must make it through. His soul consciousness was dragged into an illusory world. This illusory world was known as the momentary world in the intelligence reports. A long period of time might pass in this illusory world, but only an instant would pass in the outside world. In the illusory world, one's memories would be clouded, and one would not know one's original identity or strength. He had forgotten everything. Without his memories, it was as if he had started a new life. In this world, from birth to death, if one did not struggle out of this momentary world, then one's soul would also dissipate in this illusory world. Therefore, in addition to the 3 years of death seclusion, there was also the final death seclusion, momentary world. After 3 years of absolute solitude, even if some peerless transcendents could withstand it, their minds would be affected. In such a state, their soul consciousness would be dragged into an illusory world, and it would not be easy for them to awaken before they died of old age. This world had a high and mighty emperor, as well as rich and noble families and countless cities. Dongbua Shui Ying was an orphan in a poor mountain village. He usually went in the mountains to chop firewood and hunt for food. Help! Help! A woman was crying in the mountains. Dongbua Shuang, who was wearing a beast hide, was carrying a pheasant and a hare. His ears twitched as he immediately rushed over. At the same time, he shouted, "Xiao Bai, follow me." Beside him was a snow-white hunting dog. A man and a dog nimbly traversed the mountains. Soon, they saw a woman in the weeds. Her legs were broken, and her clothes were in tatters. "Save me! Save me!" The woman immediately shouted when she saw someone. Dongbua Shui Ying looked at the woman in a daze. When he saw the fair skin that was revealed from her torn clothes, he was somewhat stunned. He had lived in this poor mountain village since he was young. The most beautiful woman was the area at the village entrance, but compared to the woman in front of him, there was simply no comparison. Her skin was as delicate as white jade. She was simply like a fairy from the heavens. "What are you looking at?" the woman said shyly. She also noticed that there were too many tatters on her clothes. Oh. Dongbua Shui Ying hastily went over to help. Your legs are broken. I can't move. Carry me. Don't worry. I will definitely thank you. I will build a big house for you and let you find a beautiful woman. Okay. The simple and honest Dongbua Shui Ying was a little shy and excited, but he still carried the woman on his back. "What's your name?" "I'm Snow Eagle." "Your surname is Snow?" "That's a rare surname." "I don't know. I'm an orphan. Everyone in the village calls me Snow Eagle, so I'm called Snow Eagle." "All right. How do I get out of the mountain from here?" "I fell from a cliff." "Wow, a cliff? That more than 10 miles high. How did you survive?" "I have a talisman." "You don't understand." "Anyway, I survived. How do I get out of the mountain and into the city?" "That's troublesome. The mountain is very big and there are no roads. We have to go through many mountains. There are also tigers, leopards, jackals, and wolves in the mountains. Just tell me how to get out of the mountain." "Don't talk so much. I've never been out of the mountain." "I don't know. You've never been out? You've never been out in your life?" "Yes, but I want to go home." "Oh, I'll ask the village chief." "Don't worry, I'll help you." "All right, what's your name?" "Just call me Fairy." "Fairy." Snow Eagle took care of the woman. When her legs were healed, he took the map from the village chief and started to lead her out. "Snow Eagle, it's very difficult to get out of the mountain. You better not go out. Go back and find a woman and have a baby in the village. If you go out, even if you're the best hunter in the village, you might die on the way." "Thank you, village chief. I still want to go out and take a look." Snow Eagle led the woman called Fairy out of the village. The woman actually knew some sword skills, but compared to the hunter in the village, Snow Eagle's knife skills, she was still far behind. Snow Eagle led her through many dangers and killed many wild beasts in the mountain forest. During this time, Snow Eagle was poisoned and injured, but he survived. During these days, the two cuddled together and gradually developed feelings for each other. Snow Eagle also learned that Fairy's real name was Su Ling. After more than 3 months of arduous trekking, they finally made it out of the mountain alive. They arrived in a majestic city and entered a luxurious mansion, Su Mansion. That was Fairy's home. Little sister Ling The Su family was very happy, but soon they became angry. "What? A poor mountain boy? You want to marry him? Are you crazy?" "I want to marry him. Your mother and I have already decided on your marriage." "Guards, catch that poor boy." Snow Eagle resisted with a hatchet, but he was defeated by a guard in one move. He was directly caught and thrown into the dungeon. No matter how much the fairy girl resisted, it was useless. "He is my savior. He worked so hard to bring me out of the mountain. Father, mother, you can't do this to me. It's because he is your savior that we didn't kill him. If you don't listen to us, he will die." Time passed day by day. Snow Eagle was locked in the dungeon. Put this poison in his food and let him eat it every day. After half a year, he will naturally fall ill and die. "Yes, village chief. You must marry him. If you don't, that poor boy will die. If you marry him, I will let him go the next day and give him a large sum of money. Okay. The third miss is getting married today. Wow, it's so lively. In the dungeon, Snow Eagle heard the conversation outside and immediately went crazy. When the guard brought him food, he knocked the guard out with all his might, snatched the key, and left the dungeon. It was very lively outside. In Su Ling's room, she was wearing a bright red robe and sitting on the bed. Linger, Snow Eagle, wearing tattered clothes, rushed over. Why are you here? The maids beside her cried out in surprise. Big Brother Snow Eagle. Su Ling, wearing a wedding dress, looked at Snow Eagle, her eyes red. Soon, there was an uproar. The groom is here to pick up the bride. What's going on here? Quick, take this wild boy down. A fight broke out in the courtyard. This simple mountain boy was quite difficult to deal with when he went crazy. It seemed that his strength had increased a lot. Why haven't you taken him down yet? Go. The village chief of the Su family ordered. Immediately, more experts rushed forward, 2 of them using spears. Whoosh! When the spears stabbed over. Snow Eagle tried his best to raise his head and dodge, but the spear slashed across his chest. Seeing the tip of the spear whistling past, Snow Eagle's eyes moved. He suddenly felt that this spear was very familiar. Compared to the knife in his hand, this spear seemed more familiar. He reached out and grabbed the spear. With a burst of strength, the spear shaft shook violently. With exquisite technique, he shook off the opponent's hand. Whoosh! With the long spear in hand, Ying actually displayed a very exquisite spear technique very naturally. The long spear was like a swimming dragon, wantonly galloping around. For a moment, the surrounding guards were all knocked down one by one. Why are you so useless? The village chief of the Su family was anxious. Rumble! Heaven and earth began to tremble. With a wave of the spear, the entire wall in front of him collapsed. Even the area behind the wall within a radius of 1,000 meters was swept away by an invisible shockwave, as if it had collapsed. A large number of people were injured or killed. Everyone stared blankly at Shuang. This is simply inhuman. Su Ling, dressed in a red wedding dress, also looked at Snow Eagle in disbelief. Snow Eagle gradually rose into the air. He stroked the spear in his hand and looked at the distant Su Ling. Su Ling's appearance was exactly the same as Jing Qiu's. This illusory world was actually a natural projection of many of the images in his heart, which made it harder for the transcendent who was dragged into it to awaken. The instant world is ultimately just an illusion. Spear. Dongbua Shuang stroked the spear. It's still the spear I'm most familiar with. It's finally awakened me. Rumble, the entire illusory world began to collapse, and Dongbua Shuang's soul consciousness began to return. Dongbua Shuang opened his eyes. He saw a vast expanse of vine leaves, as well as the majestic main trunk of the sky-reaching vine. He also saw the vast, dark, starry sky in the distance. Everything was so quiet, so familiar. Although it was very familiar, it seemed that everything had changed. The world hasn't changed, but I have. Dongbua Shuang smiled and stood up. And I will change the world. Jing Qiu, I succeeded. I've cleared all 5 worlds of the sky-reaching vine. Dongbua Shuang raised his head and looked up, his heart surging. He knew that everything was about to change greatly. End of preface. ****. Chapter 347. Dongbua Shuang turned to look at the other figure seated cross-legged on the vast vine leaf. Misha Master was currently seated cross-legged with a calm expression on his face. This caused Dongbua Shuang to sigh in admiration. He knew that Misha Master had experienced much more than him. Misha Master had experienced countless life and death situations within the temporal temple, and had even disregarded everything to leave the temporal temple. He had come to the Xia people for so many years, all for the sake of entering. How strong was the heart of such a person? Only Misha Master has come. Dongbua Shuang thought, I wonder how Percy I and the rest are doing. Brother Percy I is shouldering the fate of his family manor, and was even able to research the 8 arms technique. He is truly talented. and I hope that his wish will come true. At this moment, Dongbua Shui Ying had succeeded and was about to become an honorary disciple. Naturally, he was worried about his companions. After all, Percy I had gone through life and death situations with him. Many thoughts flashed through his mind, following which Dongbua Shui Ying soared into the sky. There was no point in thinking too much. Percy I and Qin Huang still had to rely on themselves. This world was just that cruel. Ooh! He flew to the main branch of the sky-reaching vine and flew upwards. Above him was the spatial membrane. Dongbua Shuang, an extremely pleasant and gentle voice rang out. The green-haired girl, Shi Wei, appeared from the main branch. Senior Shi Wei. Dongbua Shuang hurriedly stopped and bowed respectfully. Congratulations on passing the test set by the sacred master and becoming an honorary disciple. Shi Wei smiled. As an honorary disciple of the Crimson Rock Mountain, you will be able to obtain many things. The 6 ghosts, resentment, hex poison that you were worried about previously is just a small matter. Dongbua Shuang nodded. He did not find it strange. The higher dimensional world had treasures that even world deities desired. Using it to cure his poison was much easier. Senior Shi Wei, may I know the current situation of Percy I and Qin Huang? Dongbua Shuang asked. The green-haired woman, Shi Wei, said casually, Percy I and Qin Huang, who entered Crimson Rock Mountain with you, still failed to pass the 3rd Vine Leaf world. Only that Misty Master broke through to the true meaning of space and reached the space deity heart realm. That's why he was able to make it to the 5th Vine Leaf world. Space deity heart? Dongbua Shui Ying was inwardly shocked. It was said that a grade 2 deity heart could allow one to immediately open their deity sea and become a deity if they wanted to. There's nothing strange about it. The green-haired woman, Shi Wei, said calmly, back in the deity world, Crimson Rock Mountain accepted disciples from the outside. Countless transcendents and deities from various star fields rushed over to undergo numerous tests and selections, hoping to become an honorary disciple of Crimson Rock Mountain. Therefore, it was a must for Crimson Rock Mountain's protector disciples to become deities. Misty Master, Qin Huang, and Percy I have all cultivated for a very long time. If they couldn't even condense a grade 2 deity heart, how could they have the qualifications to become an honorary disciple? In the deity world, Crimson Rock Mountain's tests would sometimes increase in difficulty. That's because too many transcendents came to challenge it, Shi Wei said. Now that we've descended into the mortal world, this difficulty is already the most ordinary. Dongbua Shui Ying muttered inwardly. Increasing the difficulty in the deity world? They were truly powerful and willful. However, that Saint Master was already dead, and Crimson Rock Mountain had descended into the mortal world. They no longer had the qualifications to be willful. Let's go. I'll send you up. The green-haired woman, Shi Wei, smiled. Her attitude towards Dongbua Shui Ying was completely different from how she treated the other 3. In her eyes, even if Misty Master and the others could become honorary disciples, they would be considered to have staggered over the threshold, belonging to the lowest class of honorary disciples. On the other hand, Dongbua Shui Ying's innate talent was much higher. If he was nurtured well and experienced enough, he might even be able to break through to the legendary grade 1 true meaning. Shi Wei sighed in admiration. Such a genius could actually be sent here. If it were the temporal temple, the cost of transportation would definitely be ridiculously high. Even world deities would not be able to afford it. Fortunately, he was a transcendent from the Xia people's world. After Crimson Rock Mountain descended into the mortal world, it was already very fortunate for such a transcendent to enter. According to Shi Wei's thoughts, they might as well skip the test. Unfortunately, the rules set by the Saint Master were strictly obeyed by the treasure spirit of Crimson Rock Mountain. Who? The green-haired woman, Shi Wei, and Dongbua Shui Ying flew side by side upwards. The moment they came into contact with the spatial membrane, the membrane naturally parted. Hua! After passing through the membrane, Dongbua Shui Ying felt the colors in front of him change. He saw that he was surrounded by endless rocks and soil. The sky-reaching vine continued passing through these rocks and soil, growing upwards. Dongbua Shuiying and Shi Wei continued advancing. The surface was about 500,000 kilometers wide. Under Shi Wei's guidance, Dongbua Shuiying's current flying speed easily broke through 5,000 kilometers per second. This was still taking care of Dongbua Shuiying, allowing Dongbua Shuiying to observe everything in detail. Otherwise, with Shi Wei's combat power, she would most likely be able to teleport directly to their destination. Finally, they broke through the surface. The sky-reaching vine also broke through the surface and continued growing upwards. Dongbua Shuiying surveyed his surroundings. This land was vast and boundless. He could faintly see countless life forms living here. In the distance, he could even sense a powerful aura that caused his heart to tremble. The entire surface covers an area of more than 500 million kilometers. There are countless life forms living here. Shi Wei explained, there are humans, insects, and many others. There are also more than 100 million deities. Dongbua Shuiying was dumbfounded as he heard this. It was fine if it covered an area of 500 million kilometers, but 100 million deities? Could the word 100 million be used to describe deities? But after thinking about it, it did make sense. It was said that there were trillions of mortal worlds in the material world. Every mortal world had given birth to many deities in its history, not to mention the deity world and the dark abyss, where the cultivation conditions were even better. The number of deities was indeed ridiculous. Previously, Percy I had said that the difference between a deity and a world deity was like the difference between a mortal and a transcendent. Just by thinking about the number of mortals, one could guess how many deities there were in the world. So what if there are more? The entire material world will reject them, and they will never be able to leave Crimson Rock Mountain. Shi Wei continued. The status of honorary disciples of Crimson Rock Mountain is much higher than ordinary deities. They do not live on this land, but in the sky. Follow me. In the sky? Dongbua Shuiying followed Shi Wei and continued flying upwards along the sky-reaching vine. After flying for another 100 million kilometers, they encountered a thick layer of clouds. After passing through the layer of clouds, they continued flying upwards, but after flying for a long time, they encountered yet another layer of clouds. They passed through a total of 6 layers of clouds. Finally, they arrived at a space filled with white fog. They could finally see the peak of the sky-reaching vine. Look, Shi Wei pointed not too far away. Dongbua Shuiying also saw a beautiful floating island. There were mountains on the island, a waterfall that looked like white silk, and the buildings were magnificent. The entire floating island covered an area of over 50,000 kilometers. That's the Crimson Dust Island. From honorary disciples to personal disciples of the Sacred Master, all of them cultivate here. Shi Wei said, "Follow me." Woohoo! The two flew side by side. Soon, they arrived at the beautiful floating island. Although the scenery on the island was beautiful, there was not a single soul in sight. It was cold and cheerless. Ever since I descended into the mortal world, no outsiders have entered Crimson Rock Mountain. Crimson Dust Island is also very cold and cheerless. With the death of the Sacred Master, no one came to guide them in their cultivation. Those disciples all went down to the lower realms. There are countless humans, insects, and even deities in the lower realms. At the very least, it can be considered lively. Dongbua Shuiying nodded, following which, under Shi Wei's lead, the two descended together. They landed in front of an elegant pavilion. From within the pavilion, a man dressed in luxurious clothes walked out. This man's smile was filled with a strange charm. "This is Senior Crimson Rock," Shi Wei introduced. "What's Senior?" "He's just an artifact spirit." The man smiled. "Currently, there is no one else on Crimson Dust Island. Thus, I, the artifact spirit, am in charge of everything here." Dongbua Shuiying immediately understood that this man was the artifact spirit of Crimson Rock Mountain. He immediately bowed respectfully. Dongbua Shui Ying greets Senior Crimson Rock. The man looked at Dongbua Shui Ying and nodded with a smile. In the lower realms, not a single transcendent was born that caught my eye. Who would have thought that a mortal world could give birth to such a transcendent? How rare! Those transcendents sent down by the world deities from the deity world and the dark abyss are also inferior to Dongbua Shuang. Shiwei added, how can a talent like Dongbua Shuang be so easy to find? Although Dongbua Shuang had received 2 invitations from the Temporal Temple, and he knew that his talent was exceptional, Dongbua Shuang could only stand there silently after being criticized by Shi Wei and Senior Crimson Rock. Even so, he was still very happy in his heart. You've been poisoned by the 6 ghosts' resentment? The man looked at him and smiled. It's just a small matter. There's no rush. Follow me to become a disciple of the Sacred Master. Only after that will you be considered a true honorary disciple. Chapter 348. The gorgeous-looking man, Crimson Rock, turned and entered the exquisite pavilion. Dongbua Shuang and Shi Wei followed behind him. They entered the pavilion through the corridor and entered a room at the back. The gorgeous-looking man pushed open the door. The room was empty, with only a praying mat and a painting hanging on the wall. On the painting was a red-robed, red-haired old man. His red beard was curled up, and his eyes were deep and unfathomable. His entire being was emitting a vast aura, and it felt as if this red-robed, red-haired old man in the painting was even vaster than the starry sky. This is the Sacred Master, the gorgeous-looking man said. In the past, protector disciples would kneel and pay their respects to the Sacred Master. But since the Sacred Master is dead, you should kneel and pay your respects to this painting. Yes, Dongbua Shui Ying immediately knelt down. Even though the Sacred Master was dead, Dongbua Shui Ying was still filled with admiration for him. He had seen the creation of heaven and earth, and that was the scene when the Sacred Master used it. It was truly amazing. After Dongbua Shui Ying finished kowtowing, the gorgeous-looking man nodded slightly. The Sacred Master's self-titled Red Dust was fond of traveling the countless worlds. When he met someone he disliked, he would often act. The Sacred Master could not bear to have so many transcendents go unnoticed, so he opened up Crimson Rock Mountain and accepted countless disciples. In fact, having reached the realm of the Sacred Master, he had long since become an eternal existence. It was fine for him to recruit some of the more talented transcendents or those with grade 1 true meanings. Ordinary transcendents were not worth the effort, but the Sacred Master is still willing to give these transcendents a chance. Dongbua Shuang was slightly startled after hearing this. This was a good person. In the deity world and the dark abyss, there were many who received the Sacred Master's grace. But it was precisely because he met someone he disliked that he would act, regardless of their background. In the end, he got into a conflict with a powerful existence from the deity world and was ambushed, resulting in his death. The gorgeous-looking man shook his head. Being able to become a powerful existence means that they can look down on the entire deity world. It is almost impossible to hear news of their deaths. If the Sacred Master could have been more patient and less conflict with other powerful existences, he might not have ended up like this. Why did he have to endure? The green-haired woman beside him, Shi Wei, frowned and shouted, "The Sacred Master can never be bullied. Even if he died this time, it was because he was plotted against. Otherwise, even if we can't defeat them, it won't be a problem to stay alive. It's easy to break when it's too rigid." The gorgeous man shook his head. Even if you're an almighty, you're not invincible. What's the point of saying all this now? Don't you know the Holy Master's temper? How many people have tried to persuade them? Some Holy Masters can still deal with them, but some will immediately turn hostile. Shi Wei sneered. What's more, I like Holy Master's personality more. Saint Master's death can only be blamed for his carelessness. I didn't think that the other party would really want his life. Dongbua Shui Ying listened obediently. All right. There's no need for us to argue about this. The gorgeous man, Crimson Rock, laughed. His temperament was relatively gentle. Furthermore, Dongbo Shui Ying is still listening. Only then did Shi Wei endure it. Deep down in her heart, she still worshipped the Holy Lord. Dongbo Shuang. The gorgeous man looked at Dongbo Shui Ying and said, "As an honorary disciple under Holy Master, you can cultivate on Crimson Dust Island. Furthermore, you'll be able to obtain a set of deity weapons, a world deity grade secret technique of your choice, and a treasure recorded on the list." This is the list. The gorgeous man waved his hand, causing a green piece of paper to float over. Recorded on it were treasures after treasures. Dong Wuxuang picked it up and had a look. There were many treasures recorded on the list, such as 100,000 deity crystals, a world deity grade secret technique inheritance, fire scarlet ant nest, and so on. Looking through them, he didn't understand the value of most of them. Senior Crimson Rock. Dongbo Shui Ying hurriedly asked, "The great world deities of the deity world and dark abyss have all sent transcendence in a Crimson Rock Mountain. What is their goal?" "World deity grade secret techniques," Shi Wei said. "Are world deity grade secret techniques very precious to world deities?" Dongbo Shuang asked. Shi Wei nodded. "Of course. Deity grade secret techniques are created by world deities. World deity grade secret techniques are created by powerful existences. These are secret techniques that can allow world deities to cultivate and greatly increase their strength." No wonder. Dongbo Shui Ying suddenly understood. No wonder our Xia people have never been able to obtain deity-grade secret techniques. Only the Temple of the Earth God, Demonic Faction, and Bloodshed Tavern have them. It is very difficult for world deities to learn world deity-grade secret techniques. If one is able to become a disciple of a powerful existence, one might be able to learn 2 or 3. If one is unable to become a disciple of a powerful existence, it will be even harder to learn. Shi Wei said, "There are many kinds of world deity-grade secret techniques. Even those who have learned 1 or 2 would be willing to get their hands on another one. Thus, they would naturally send transcendence into Crimson Rock Mountain." Dongbo Shui Ying frowned. Crimson Rock Mountain allows world deity-grade secret techniques to be leaked. Normal powers would usually control such techniques. Honorary disciples can obtain a set of deity weapons and a world deity-grade secret technique of their choice. The world deity-grade secret technique of their choice must be learned by themselves and cannot be leaked. Shi Wei pointed at the paper in Dongbo Shui Ying's hand. "Choose any treasure on the list, and you can choose a world deity-grade secret technique inheritance of your choice. You can even give this inheritance to others." Senior Crimson Rock sighed. The other powerful existences of the deity world have all cut off the possibility of their secret techniques being leaked. The Sacred Master does this to allow his honorary disciples to exchange for treasures from world deities. Secondly, it allows those world deities to have a chance of learning the secret technique. Thus, the Sacred Master's reputation in the deity world is extremely good, and he is worshipped by countless deities. Dongbo Shui Ying, Shi Wei, and the gorgeous Senior Crimson Rock walked out of the pavilion and began walking around Crimson Dust Island. Senior Crimson Rock, Dongbo Shui Ying looked at the beautiful scenery around him and could not help but ask, "Then how do I cure the poison? Do I have to choose the 100,000 deity crystals on the list and buy the antidote?" "If that's your choice, that's fine too." The gorgeous Crimson Rock laughed. "However, I do have a suggestion for you. Can't you choose any world deity grade secret technique? You can choose one of the 18 world deity grade secret techniques of my Crimson Rock Mountain. The time immemorial scripture, which is the #1 survival technique. The time immemorial scripture was created by an old friend of the Sacred Master. As long as you can master it, your 6 ghost resentment hex poison will be easily cured." Dongbo Shui Ying was puzzled. The time immemorial scripture? Doesn't Crimson Rock Mountain have 18 world deity grade secret techniques? I don't know about the rest. The Xia people were facing a huge threat. World deity grade secret techniques were an important aspect of raising his strength, and he could only choose one secret technique of his choice. Of the treasures on the list, Dongbua Shui Ying did not intend to choose a secret technique. He was more inclined to choose something that could help the Xia people resist the sorcerer god and the great demon god. Treasures like the Ding Jiu battleship were quite cheap. Hence, it was very likely that he could only choose one world deity grade secret technique. Of course, he had to choose the most suitable one. Haha, others? The gorgeous Crimson Rock laughed. Don't think about the others. Shui also laughed. Dongbua, it is extremely difficult to master a world deity grade secret technique. Ordinary transcendents might be able to master a deity grade secret technique. But a world deity grade secret technique, even if it is just a beginner, it has a very strict requirement on one's realm. Of course, your realm isn't any weaker than some newly ascended deities. But of the 18 world deity grade secret techniques, at least with your current realm, you won't be able to master any of them. You can only master the time immemorial scripture, and that's because you have cultivated the nihility body. With the nihility body, you can easily master the time immemorial scripture. Dongbua Shui Ying suddenly understood. The others couldn't even master the technique? Is the time immemorial scripture very powerful? Survival first? Dongbua Shui Ying asked. Extremely powerful, Shui said. As long as you master it, even if the original 6 ghosts resentment enters your body, you will be able to expel it easily. Just stand there and let ordinary newly ascended deities attack you. They won't be able to hurt you at all. Dongbua Shui Ying was shocked. Even newly ascended deities wouldn't be able to hurt them the moment they master it. Otherwise, why would it be a secret technique that even world deities covet? It's just that it has a very high requirement on one's realm. Your nihility body can barely master it. Shui said, have you decided? Are you going to choose the time immemorial scripture? Chapter 349. The two seniors, Shui and Crimson Rock, looked at Dongbua Shui Ying. Dongbua Shui Ying pondered for a moment. Against the sorcerer god and the great demon god, preserving his life was very important. After all, he was a mere transcendent, while the other party was a lord of a material world. The other was the ancient great demon god of the dark abyss. If the two of them worked together to plot against him, he wouldn't know when he would be ambushed. He had to be strong enough to preserve his life in order to fight against them. Moreover, out of the 18 world deity grade secret techniques of Crimson Rock Mountain, this was the only one he had gained entry into. This is it, Dongbua Shui Ying said. Kid, your choice is correct. Crimson Rock laughed. In this world, no matter how strong you are, you have to survive first. Only then will there be hope. For example, my master was a powerful existence of the deity world, but after being ambushed once, he lost his life, unable to make a comeback. If the Saint Master had spent more effort on preserving his life, perhaps he wouldn't have ended up like this. Let's go this way. Crimson Rock brought Dongbua Shui Ying. The three of them traversed Crimson Dust Island, flying at a speed of 50 kilometers per second, leisurely enjoying the scenery. That canyon. Dongbua Shui Ying saw the entrance of a distant canyon, where the creation of heaven and earth imprint he had seen previously was. There are many imprints left there, Crimson Rock said. Including the creation of heaven and earth imprint, there are also many imprints left by world deities. The disciples of my Crimson Rock Mountain can view them time and time again, and so can you. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. He had seen the creation of heaven and earth once before, but he had felt that it was too short. After flying for tens of thousands of kilometers, Crimson Rock waved his hand. What was originally a forest suddenly turned into a lake, and in the middle of the lake was a statue. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Dongbua Shui Ying, Crimson Rock, and Shui landed on the surface of the lake and walked towards the statue. Do you see that statue? Crimson Rock pointed at it. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. The statue was as tall as an ordinary person. It stood with its hands clasped behind its back and stepped on the water. The statue was entirely black, and it was a man with long, flowing hair. His eyes were filled with boundless vigor. This is the myriad tribulations time immemorial scripture, a myriad tribulations time immemorial body that has been cultivated to greater mastery. Crimson Rock introduced. Time immemorial body. Donghua Shui Ying was puzzled. Is it corpse? Beside him, Shiwei couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. You're really bold, kid. This is a Dharma body formed by the creator of the innumerable tribulations scripture, the innumerable tribulations body. It's called the innumerable tribulations body, and it's condensed here as a gift to our Saint Lord. The myriad tribulations primeval chaos body can give you an endless stream of cultivation techniques for the perfect body. Who is this great being? Donghua Shui could not help but ask. I can't tell you. I can't tell you. Red Rock shook his head. Shui shook her head as well. Donghua, remember this. You can't say the name of any great being. The moment you say it, it doesn't matter if you're in the material plane, the God realm, or the abyss, the great beings will be able to sense it immediately. If the great beings are in a bad mood, a single thought from them might be enough to kill you instantly, even if you're separated by countless dimensions. Donghua Shui Ying's mouth twitched. All right, come and receive the inheritance. Stand in front of the statue and approach it, Red Rock said. Donghua Shui Ying nodded and immediately stepped forward. When they were about 2 meters away from each other, they looked into each other's eyes. Wang, a wave shot out from the statue's eyes and instantly entered Donghua Shui Ying's eyes. At this moment, Donghua Shui Ying felt his mind buzzing. A huge amount of information surged into his mind. I, Donghua Shui Ying, under the witness of His Majesty Bloodblade, swear. Donghua Shui Ying could not help but say the oath. In the air around him, huge words of the oath could be faintly seen. This statue had its own oath array, and every single person who accepted the inheritance had to swear an oath. And the witness of the oath was none other than the Bloodblade. Bloodblade was the highest ruler of the Bloodshed God Palace. Donghua Shui Ying could faintly feel a grand and mysterious ripple coming from afar. It swept across the area before retreating. Even though Donghua Shui Ying could not help but say the oath, he understood everything in his heart. He knew that it was His Majesty Bloodblade who had probed this area. Indeed, such an existence's name could not be casually mentioned. The moment he mentioned it, no matter how remote he was, he would immediately know of it. Under the oath, large amounts of information gathered in his mind, gradually forming a whole. Finally, a statue appeared in his mind. It was this black statue, the time immemorial body. This statue stood erect in the void of his consciousness, as if it was the center of everything, eternal and indestructible. Around this statue, there were faintly countless runes flowing. So that's the case. Donghua Shui Ying understood a portion of the information. The time immemorial scripture was too vast. A mere transcendent like him could not fully comprehend it. Thus, it was currently in the form of a statue, and he could only receive the first layer of information and the contents of the first layer. The time immemorial scripture had a total of 9 layers. The body cultivated was known as the time immemorial body in the deity world, and was known as the time immemorial body. It had a body similar to time immemorial, and was indestructible. The moment it reached grand completion, a single breath would be enough to destroy a world the size of the Xia people's world. Even powerful existences would find it hard to destroy this body. Oh, the white-robed Donghua Shui Ying stood on the surface of the lake. Abruptly, he disappeared. He's starting to cultivate? This brat really can't wait any longer. Crimson Rock laughed. He and Shui stood there, waiting patiently. Nihility body. His entire body turned into countless particles, fusing with the mirage. Time immemorial body. Donghua Shui Ying visualized an extremely complicated god seal in his mind. The god seal had a 3-dimensional appearance, and it was a human-shaped god seal sitting cross-legged. As he visualized and comprehended, his body was completely dispersed. Every single particle that had fused with the mirage began to be affected, and the particles began to change. In the eyes of ordinary mortals, and even many transcendents, particles were the most basic structure of a body. However, The six ghosts resentment hexing poison could permeate into every single particle because particles could still be dissected. Particles were formed from leptons. Thus, the true meaning of particles was only a grade 3 true meaning. The true meaning of particles was a grade 2 true meaning. The time immemorial scripture was a world deity ranked secret technique, and it was extremely difficult to even begin learning it. Fortunately, Dongbua Shui Ying had cultivated the nihility body, allowing his body to completely disperse and fuse with the mirage. By relying on the mirage and the visualization of the time immemorial scripture, he could subtly influence every single particle. Through visualization, he could permeate deeper into the particles, affecting the composition of the leptons. Hong hong hong. Following the change in the layer of leptons, every single particle of Dongbua Shui Ying's was trembling. The surface of those particles began to gradually expel toxins. These toxins were none other than the six ghosts resentment, hexing poison. Clearly, the new structure of the leptons within the particles could no longer allow the hexing poison to continue entrenching itself. With such a body, even the primordial six ghosts resentment hexing poison would not be able to penetrate it. This feeling is too refreshing. Dongbua Shui Ying could feel that he was undergoing a complete transformation. The internal structure of every single particle was changing, causing his skin, muscles, bones, and internal organs to rapidly transform. The toughness of his skin was rapidly increasing by 100 to 1,000 times. Even if Persei, the Maisha Master, and the others used their deity weapons to attack him, they would not be able to break his skin. This was an improvement in all aspects. Compared to the demonic physique of the Lords of Wulan, they were on a completely different level. Chapter 350. This was a transformation of the deepest level. Every single particle of his body had a new structure, causing every part of his body to undergo tremendous changes. Dongbua Shui Ying's hair was even tougher than many precious transcendent materials, and his bones could even be used to forge deity treasures. They were far stronger than the divine bodies of many deities. After all, even after becoming a deity and obtaining the precious time immemorial sutra, only Dongbua Shui Ying would be able to cultivate it. From this, one could imagine how terrifyingly strong Dongbua Shui Ying's current body was. Whoosh! After an unknown period of time, Dongbua Shui Ying finally opened his eyes. This Dongbua Shui Ying stared off into the distance, dazed. 10,000 kilometers away from Crimson Dust Island, a small centipede was crawling along a stone path atop a tall mountain. The hairs on the centipede's legs could be seen clearly. He could hear countless sounds in his ears, varying in frequency. These sounds were in the form of sound waves, striking against the walls of the mountain and then bouncing off or striking against the trees, causing the sound waves to spread out in other directions. The transmission of sound waves was chaotic. Every single obstacle would cause the sound waves to change slightly. Countless sound waves. Some were high and some were low. In the past, Dongbua Shui Ying had been unable to hear them, such as the breathing of plants. But now he could hear them all. In addition, based on the collisions of the countless sound waves, Dongbua Shui Ying could clearly sense the location of every single blade of grass, as well as the location of a single pebble that was 1,000 kilometers away. Just by listening, I can hear everything within 1,000 kilometers? Dongbua Shui Ying didn't dare believe it. He closed his eyes. Indeed, everything was incomparably clear. This was a world of sound waves. The countless sound waves caused this world to be filled with a different sort of brilliance. He could clearly sense countless objects. Would hearing countless sound waves get tired? No, it wouldn't. It was just like how an ordinary person could see countless people with a single glance and hear countless sounds. Their powerful minds could easily filter out everything, and they wouldn't feel tired at all. This is what it feels like to be a deity. Shiwei and Redrock watched this from the side. Shiwei said, "After becoming a god, your divine power will condense into a divine body, and you will notice the changes in your body. Although your primordial tribulations body is only at the first stage. It has already reached the primordial tribulations body. However, it was still much stronger than an ordinary divine body. That's why your senses need to be sharper. How magical! Dongbua Shui Ying opened his eyes. I originally thought that I would need to grasp the wave true meaning or similar laws and profound mysteries to be able to sense the sound waves. But I didn't expect that I could do this just by listening. As you cultivate, your life level will continue to grow stronger. The nearby Crimson Rock said, naturally, one would have many unfathomable abilities, such as time. When one was a transcendent, it was very difficult to control time, but after becoming a god and possessing a god realm, one's perception of time would become even more acute, and one might even be able to gradually influence time. Crimson Rock laughed and said, as long as you become stronger, anything is possible. Yes, Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. Standing on the surface of a lake, although he was still dressed in white, Dongbua Shui Ying felt as though he had been reborn. He reached out with his right hand, slowly opened it, and then suddenly clenched it. Pum! The air within his palm was instantly compressed, causing a low rumble. Just this action of clenching his palm could easily crush the lords of Ulan and the others to death. Even an ordinary newly ascended deity would not be able to withstand a casual clench from Dongbua Shui Ying. Too powerful, this body is too powerful. Although Dongbua Shui Ying had mentally prepared himself, he was still shocked when he saw the time immemorial body's initial level. The time immemorial body is qualified to be called an avatar. Even world deities desire to obtain such a secret art. The nearby Crimson Rock smiled. His handsomeness was enough to charm countless women. Dongbua Shui Ying muttered inwardly, you're just an artifact spirit. How can you be so handsome with just a smile? Crimson Rock continued, although it's only the first level, it's already extraordinary. Why can't I feel my primordial bloodline anymore? Dongbua Shui Ying asked again. Primordial bloodline? Beside him, Shi Wei was speechless. Dongbua Brat, what do you think a bloodline is? Bloodline? Dongbua Shui Ying was stunned. Bloodline concealment. Once activated, it will allow your body to reconstruct itself, giving you immense strength, speed, and so on. It can even guide lightning or affect space. Shi Wei sneered. And now, every particle of your body has changed. You've already undergone an earth-shattering transformation. The primordial life forms of your Xia people's world, and even the demons of the dark abyss. Have you ever heard of a body that can compare to even 1/100th of your current body? Right now, you possess the strongest bloodline in the history of your Xia people's world. Crimson Rock laughed heartily. Your bloodline far surpasses all primordial bloodlines, and even the superior demon bloodlines. Dongbua Shui Ying was stunned. All right, that wasn't wrong at all. His current body had indeed surpassed all the bloodlines he had heard of in the transcendent stage. Moreover, it far surpassed them. Even a newly ascended deity could be casually pinched to death. This was clearly a heaven-defying feat. After all, Crimson Rock Mountain had a total of 18 world deity grade secret arts. Even though he knew 3 true meanings, he could only enter one of them. One could see how harsh the entry requirements were. Previously, I was still thinking that the true meaning of Star Stage 3 realm would allow me to cultivate the so-called Star Immortal body. I even tried to guide energy to strengthen my body. However, I discovered that it was completely useless. Dongbua Shui Ying laughed. You're just rubbing mud on steel. Star Immortal body? What an arrogant name. A transcendent body strengthening technique that can't even be considered a secret art. Yet you dare call it immortal? Crimson Rock shook his head lightly, full of disdain. That's normal. Aren't there many transcendents who call themselves emperors? Shi Wei added. Dongbua Shui Ying smiled as he listened from the side. He was in a good mood. Previously, he did not expect that becoming an honorary disciple would allow his strength to soar so much. Even if he wore a deity armor and stood there, allowing others to attack him, how many of them would be able to harm him? Dongbua Shui Ying was very clear that his time immemorial body strength, speed, vision, hearing, and so on were just natural additions. The most terrifying aspect of this body was still its survivability and defense. It was indeed worthy of being the #1 survival technique among the 18 world deity grade secret arts. Dongbua Shuiying himself could not think of a way to kill him. Of course, it was also because his vision was too low. His opponents were the sorcerer god and the great demon god. It was better to be cautious. 2 seniors. Dongbua Shuiying hurriedly said, "Honorary disciple, you can choose a set of deity weapons, a secret art of your choice, and a treasure from the list. I've also chosen the secret art, and the deity weapons are placed to the side. Now, it's time to choose the treasure from the list." I'm a little vexed. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the 2 in front of him. 2 seniors, do you know that our Xia people's world is currently facing the threat of the sorcerer god and the great demon god? It's very likely that the 2 of them will start a war to destroy our Xia people and occupy the entire Xia people's world forever. This way, they will be able to forbid any outsiders from entering Crimson Rock Mountain and monopolize it. We're aware of this. Crimson Rock nodded. Of the 2 of them, one is a material world lord, and the other is said to be the Stage 2 great demon god. Beside him, Shiwei also said, "However, this will not affect us. If we want to obtain Crimson Rock Mountain, we'll still have to send Transcendence to undergo the trials." Dongbua Shuiying laughed bitterly. "It won't affect Crimson Rock Mountain, but it will be a calamity for our Xia people." I want to ask, how should I choose the treasure on the list? Only then will I have the greatest hope of resisting the sorcerer god and the great demon god. Dongbua Shuiying asked. His own knowledge was insufficient. The most powerful ancestor of his Xia people was only at the peak of the deity realm. Using the words of the temporal temple, the defensive strategy set by the Xia people had a 99% chance of failure. One must know that the future was uncertain, but the temporal temple still left some leeway, which was why they said 99%. Based on the previous strength of the Xia people, there was a 100% chance of failure. Now that Dongbua Shuiying had become a protector disciple, it was obvious that the Xia people's chances of success had increased dramatically. However, Dongbua Shuiying had to make good use of his resources. The Xia people did not have high knowledge. However, Senior Shiwei and Senior Crimson Rock had high knowledge. The 2 of them had followed powerful existences from the deity realm. In terms of knowledge, they were probably even higher than the sorcerer god and the great demon god. This kid is really smart. Crimson Rock laughed and shook his head. He knows to ask us. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Chapter 351. Dongbua Brat. Shiwei also looked at Dongbua Shuiying and shook her head. I'll tell you the truth. You Xia people originally had no chance of winning at all. But now, there should be hope for you to defend your infernal world. And this is with your help. Without your appearance, even the infernal world wouldn't have been able to be defended. Yes, that sorcerer god and great demon god don't actually care about you Xia people. What they're truly afraid of is the temple of the earth god. Crimson Rock added, otherwise they wouldn't have needed to prepare for so long. Dongbua Shuiying's expression changed slightly. Senior Shiwei, Senior Crimson Rock, my strength has increased greatly. Could it be that even I can't stop them? Do you know what the sorcerer god and great demon god's greatest reliance is? Shiwei asked. Deity avatars? Dongbua Shuiying asked. This is an important reliance. But it isn't the greatest reliance. Shiwei said, the Temple of the Earth God can also create deity avatars. If the Bloodshed Tavern is willing, they can also create a deity avatar in your Xia people's world. But why don't they dare to occupy the Xia people's world and monopolize Crimson Rock Mountain? Yet the Sorcerer God and Great Demon God dare to do so? Dongbua Shuiying frowned. You should know that once a deity avatar awakens, it can stay in a mortal world for at most 3,000 years. Shiwei said, after 3,000 years, the deity avatar will naturally die. Without a deity avatar, it will be impossible to guard the entire Xia people's world. Don't tell me they have to create a deity avatar every 3,000 years? That's too great a price. Dongbua Shuang nodded. That's right. Occupying the Xia people's world was relatively easy, but occupying it forever was difficult. Seniors, what exactly is their greatest reliance? Dongbua Shuang asked anxiously. If my guess is correct, the sorcerer god and the great demon god can only rely on one thing, Shui said. The sorcerer god is the lord of the material world. He has completely refined a mortal world. That mortal world is equivalent to his back garden. He can go in and out at any time. He can go to the god world and return to his hometown from the god world without any hindrance. Dongbua Shuang nodded. He was also aware of this. And some material realm lords would often do one thing. Shui said, we will find a nearby mortal world and open up a stable space channel. After that, he continuously sent his subordinates over to take over that mortal world. Most of them were sector lord-level existences. It was very easy for them to bring resources back to their homeland from the god world. After that, these resources can be used to attack other mortal worlds through stable spatial channels. Dongbua Shuang vaguely understood, and his expression changed. Attacking one mortal world after another, although their true bodies are unable to enter other mortal worlds, their subordinates can enter and completely occupy them. They can then spread their faith, Shui said. However, the only problem is to build a stable spatial passage. Because mortal worlds are very far apart and their spatial positions are not fixed, it is very difficult to build a stable space channel. Crimson Rock Mountain has fallen to the Xia people's world for more than 1,000,000 years. That sorcerer god probably started planning very early on. During these 1,000,000 years, he should have occupied 1 or 2 mortal worlds. Moreover, they should be mortal worlds that are relatively close to your Xia people's world. After that, he would use those mortal worlds as a springboard to build a stable space channel to connect your Xia people's world and the world he occupied. In this way, as long as the channel is built, he would prepare a large amount of resources, a large number of battle fortresses, etc., which would continuously pass through the fixed space channel and instantly enter your Xia people's world. Shui said. After that, he would spread the foundation and quickly occupy the Xia people's world, sweeping through everything. His resources do not need to be transported through the space-time temple, because he is a material world lord and can bring resources from the deity realm into the material world himself. Then, through the space channels, through the mortal worlds he occupied, he would transmit them to your Xia people's world. He has endured for so long for this day. He spread his faith in the Beast Clan so that the Beast Clan could build a fixed space channel for him. As long as the temporary construction is successful, the resources he sends can immediately stabilize the channel completely. Shui said, without the space-time temple's oppression, he and the great demon god can throw in all their resources. A material world lord is the least afraid of risks. Their avatars are adventuring in the deity realm. If one avatar dies, they can cultivate another avatar. Therefore, material world lords are generally very rich. He can send in countless war weapons as he pleases. Divine avatars, with the help of some precious artifacts, can also display even more terrifying strength, Shui said. As long as they are willing, they can manage the entire Xia people's world like a large fortress. No one will be able to get involved. Shui said, this is the only possibility I can think of. They can absolutely and permanently occupy the Xia people's world. Dongbua Shuang felt a chill in his heart as he listened. He really did not dare to imagine that there would be a day when a fixed space channel connected the Xia people's world to another mortal world. An endless stream of terrifying resources would be sent in. Hundreds or even thousands of deity realm battleships would charge in, and even more terrifying war weapons would be sent in. Do you understand now? The only thing they are afraid of is the temple of the earth god. Shui smiled. The faith of your Xia people's world belongs to the temple of the earth god. If they want to occupy this place, it's equivalent to stealing the flesh of the temple of the earth god. How could the temple of the earth god agree so easily? The temple of the earth god should have a sleeping body for a long time that can allow a world god to descend. If the temple of the earth god descends, it will definitely be an extremely powerful world god, or even a terrifying stage 3 world god. Such a divine avatar will definitely be able to destroy the stable space channel at the first moment. Therefore, the sorcerer god and the great demon god need to prepare sufficient preparation and then crush everything in one fell swoop, Shui said. In fact, just in case, they might even reach an agreement with the temple of the earth god. Dongbua Shuang could not help but ask, "The temple of the earth god will help them?" "That's not very likely." Shui shook her head. "After all, the temple of the earth god is spreading their faith in your Xia people's world. They would not dare to openly betray their people who believe in them. However, it is possible for them to watch from the sidelines and not do anything." "Then what about my Xia people?" Dongbua Shuang asked. They did not expect that at the crucial moment, a transcendent like you would appear in the Xia people. Shui shook her head. "If they fail, the biggest reason is that they let you go." Dongbua Shuang was helpless. They had already paid a huge price to deal with him, and they had even poisoned him with the 6 ghost resentment. Before they could establish a stable space channel, the sorcerer god and the great demon god did not have any good methods to deal with him. After all, they had sent down some powerful items. They were all exploited by the temporal temple. "You Xia people can defend the infernal world," Shui said. "Give up on the Xia people's world and hide in the infernal world. This will increase your chances. You can exchange for 100,000 deity crystals on the list. 100,000 deity crystals can buy many treasures and make the infernal world more stable. With your help, even if the sorcerer god and the great demon god attack with all their might, there is still a high chance of defending the infernal world. Defend the infernal world and cultivate in peace. When you become a deity, or even stronger, you are a native of the Xia people. When you become a deity, as long as you can still enter the Xia people's world within 10,000 years, you can completely destroy them in one fell swoop. Even if they manage to make the Xia people's world so hard to destroy, as long as you refine the world core of the Xia people's world within 10,000 years and become the overlord, they will definitely lose. They will definitely lose, Shui said. Dongbua Shuang frowned. Give up the entire Xia people's world? Wait until he was strong enough to counterattack? If there was really no other way, then this was the only way. In the history of the Xia people, there were more than one time when they were forced to retreat to the infernal world. Even if we defend the infernal world, there is no absolute certainty, right? Dongbua Shuang asked. There are no absolutes in war. After all, your opponent can use far more resources than you can, Shui said. The only advantage you Xia people have is your personal strength. Dongbua Shuang nodded. He already understood the predicament. But the countless humans in the Xia people's world will be slaughtered just like that? Is there a way to defend and repel them? Dongbua Shuang asked. Defending the infernal world will require you to risk your life. To repel them completely? That will be even more difficult, Shui said. You have to be stronger, have more resources. There is a way. Dongbua Ying's eyes lit up. Become an inner disciple of Crimson Rock Mountain, Shui said. Chapter 352. Inner Disciple. Dongbua Ying's heart skipped a beat. Shui looked at him, the corners of her mouth curling upwards. The Sacred Master's disciples are divided into honorary disciples, inner disciples, and personal disciples. Personal disciples have the highest status, followed by inner disciples, and finally honorary disciples. However, even though the Sacred Master has lived for so long, he has only accepted 3 personal disciples. The requirements for becoming a personal disciple are very strict. One must either have a grade 1 true meaning, or one must grasp a grade 1 deity heart within 10,000 years. If one meets either of these criteria, the sacred master will take the initiative to accept him as a disciple. Dongbua Shui Ying muttered to himself. A grade 1 true, meaning transcendent? That was ridiculously difficult. Grasping a grade 1 deity heart within 10,000 years was relatively easier. After all, one could first condense a grade 2 deity heart before breaking through to grade 1. Most grade 1 true, meaning transcendence, could condense a grade 1 deity heart within 3,000 years. Of the 3 personal disciples the sacred master accepted, one is a grade 1 true, meaning transcendent. Another grasped a grade 1 deity heart within 10,000 years. The last one was the sacred master's favorite, so he made an exception to accept him as a personal disciple. Shi Wei said, since the sacred master is dead, he can no longer make an exception. Thus, becoming a personal disciple of the sacred master is very simple. You just need to grasp a grade 1 true meaning or a grade 1 deity heart within 10,000 years. Dongbua Shui Ying helplessly said, if only I could grasp a grade 1 true meaning, the calamity of the Xia people would have long been resolved. Shi Wei was startled. She immediately understood that Dongbua Shui Ying was still most concerned about the calamity of the Xia people. That's right. If you can grasp hold of a grade 1 true meaning, your personal combat power will surpass your current level. You will be able to defeat the armies of the sorcerer god and the great demonic god and destroy that stable spatial passage. Shi Wei nodded. As long as this news is leaked, there will definitely be powerful existences from the deity world who will take the initiative to accept you as a disciple. The sorcerer god and the great demon god, they aren't even worth mentioning. However, it is best not to reveal the fact that you have grasped a grade 1 true meaning. Regardless of who your teacher is, the moment it is leaked, you will be seen as a thorn in their side and will be eliminated with all their might. As for the grade 1 true meaning's absolute transcendence, many of them were killed during their early stages of growth. Shi Wei said helplessly, that's why the grade 1 true meaning transcendence in history are usually very cautious. Only after they become world deities would they gradually make the news public. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. Grade 1 true meaning. He also wanted to, but from the information he had obtained, how difficult would it be to break through? This kind of thing could not be forced. He could only let nature take its course. He just needed to do his best in cultivation. Thinking too much about other things would instead affect his state of mind. I wouldn't dare to force myself to become a direct disciple. Dongbua Shui Ying asked, but how can I become an inner disciple? Follow me, Crimson Rock said. This was a long stone path with stone steps that led to the peak of a tall mountain in the distance. Look, Crimson Rock, Shi Wei, and Dongbua Shui Ying all came to the side of the stone path. Crimson Rock pointed into the distance. This is the path of reflection. It is a test of your inner heart. It is much more difficult than the test of the 5th vine leaf of the sky-reaching vine. After becoming a deity, the disciples of Crimson Rock Mountain will walk this path of reflection. It is split into 3 sections. Transcendents only need to walk through the first section to reach the threshold of becoming an inner disciple. Dongbua Shui Ying looked at this path of reflection thoughtfully. It seemed that the powerful existences of the deity world placed great importance on the inner heart of a cultivator. A 9-story pagoda. Very soon, Crimson Rock and Shi Wei brought Dongbua Shui Ying to the front of this pagoda. This is the soaring cloud pagoda. Crimson Rock pointed at the 9-story pagoda. When transcendents enter, it will be a battle between transcendents. When deities enter, it will be a battle between deities. As long as you can pass through 6 floors, you will reach the threshold of becoming an inner disciple. Both the path of reflection and the soaring cloud pagoda must meet the requirements. Once you pass the first section of the path of reflection and the 6th floor of the soaring cloud pagoda, you will naturally become an inner disciple. Crimson Rock looked at Dongbua Shui Ying. These are the conditions set by the Sacred Lord. No one could change them. Understand? Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. The path of reflection and the soaring cloud pagoda? It's very difficult. Your cultivation is still too low. Crimson Rock shook his head. You'll know once you try. You still need to cultivate bitterly and become an inner disciple before the war breaks out. Amen. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Now that he was an honorary disciple, he had already given Xia people a chance to fight. However, he still needed to become stronger. Crimson Rock lightly pointed at the void, and a dense array of words condensed in the air. Dongbua Ying raised his head, and a look of joy appeared on his face. If you're still an honorary disciple when the war breaks out, then follow this plan, Crimson Rock said. First, exchange for 100,000 deity crystals. Then use those 100,000 deity crystals to exchange for various treasures. Dongbua Shuang frowned. Out of the 100,000 deity crystals, 30,000 deity crystals are to be used to purchase a large number of deity corpses? To nurture your blood-creeping flower, Crimson Rock said. The blood-creeping flower is a plant life form with a huge body and a strong life force. It's an extremely suitable weapon of war. Letting it absorb the energy of heaven and earth is too slow, and absorbing deity crystals is too extravagant. Deity corpses are the best. The corpses of deities contain extremely strong energy and are much cheaper than deity crystals. 30,000 deity corpses is more than enough for the blood-creeping flower to grow to the late-stage deity realm. However, I estimate that it will need 10 years to reach the mid-stage deity realm and 30 years to reach the late-stage deity realm. Even if the blood-creeping flower is only at the mid-stage deity realm, it is still different from ordinary deities. Its body is huge, and its countless vines cover an area of 10,000 li. Wanting to kill, it would be even harder than killing a late-stage deity realm expert. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Plant life forms indeed had an extremely strong life force. You have to hurry and send the blood-creeping flower to the Xia people's world, Crimson Rock said. After all, it isn't a native of the Xia people's world. Only by becoming a deity within the Xia people's world will it not be rejected. Then send it over. Once the blood-creeping flower breaks through to deity, the commotion it causes will be huge. I'm afraid that everyone will know that a deity has been born, right? Dongbua Shuang frowned. It's good that they know, Shi Wei said complacently. If the sorcerer god, the great demon god, hesitates and wants to delay the war by 10,000 years, then Dongbua brat, you will have sufficient strength to cultivate. If you cultivate within the Crimson Rock Mountain, you might have already refined the world core of the Xia people's world. Dongbua Shuang frowned. From what you guys said, since the sorcerer god, the great demon god, is so confident, I'm afraid that he won't delay the war just because of the birth of a deity. Even if he doesn't delay it, they will still think of ways to find out more about the Xia people's background. More importantly, they will want to know whether you are dead or alive, Shi Wei said. As long as you continue to stay within the Crimson Rock Mountain and don't leave, it will be extremely difficult for them to investigate, unless they go through the Temporal Temple, which is unable to infiltrate the Crimson Rock Mountain. They can only investigate through the blood-creeping flower, which is very troublesome for the Temporal Temple. Thus, if they were to investigate through the Temporal Temple, the price would be ridiculously high. If they were to really buy the information, they would lose a huge amount of deity crystals. At the very least, they would lose 1,000,000 deity crystals. If they don't buy the information, then they will never know about your background. This will be even more beneficial to you. Dongbua Shuang couldn't help but nod slightly. If I don't return to the Xia people's world? Dongbua Shuang couldn't help but ask. Then how will I contact the Xia people? The Crimson Rock Mountain is equivalent to an independent world. It is extremely close to the Xia people's world. Thus, you can use a communication treasure to communicate with them, Crimson Rock said. I don't need too much. Just 100 deity crystals will do. I will add some materials from the Crimson Rock Mountain to it. The materials from the Crimson Rock Mountain can isolate all probing laws. Unless a powerful existence from the deity world personally acts, the Temporal Temple won't be able to see through this communication treasure. Dongbua Shui immediately thought of an item. It was a cloth bag left behind by ancestor Black Wind, which could isolate all probing laws. You can use the communication treasure to contact the Xia people at any time. But you, and even your avatar, will not be able to return. Even if the temporal temple were to reverse time and investigate, they wouldn't be able to find out that you came out from the Crimson Rock Mountain. If they want to confirm whether you are alive or dead, they will have to go through the blood-creeping flower. However, the blood-creeping flower has already stepped into the deity stage. Controlling a deity stage plant life form is extremely difficult. The temporal temple will offer an astonishing price to the sorcerer god, the great demon god. Crimson Rock smiled. They knew a lot, so they understood the rules. Naturally, they could use a small amount of resources to maximize their effectiveness. Dongbua Shui thought about it carefully and felt that there wasn't a problem. On the same day, Dongbua Shui had already arranged everything. Master, the blood-creeping flower transformed into a red-skinned female doll whose body was covered in green leaves and red flowers. Shui Man, be careful on this trip. Go my hometown, Water Rights Town, Snora Castle, and find Jing Xiao. Dongbua Shui instructed. Yes. The blood-creeping flower was extremely obedient. All right, go ahead, little fellow. Go to the world of the Xia people and grow up well, Crimson Rock said as he waved his hand. Beside him, Shi Wei had a complicated look in her eyes. She was envious. After all, it had been a long time since she had left Crimson Rock Mountain. The blood-creeping flower disappeared. He left Crimson Rock Mountain and arrived in the outside world of the Xia people. In the world of the Xia people, within the Tranquil Sun Province, Azure River County, Water Rights Town, Snora Castle, Jing Xiao was currently residing there. She was certain that the moment her husband returned, he would return to Snora Castle first. More than 4 years. Jing Xiao held onto the railing as she looked at the snow-covered Snorrock Mountain. Her heart was heavy, because according to the information she had received, 3 years was more than enough time for them to challenge the sky-reaching vine. After not returning for more than 4 years, Jing Xiao became even more anxious and uneasy. She couldn't believe it, and she didn't want to accept that it was a terrible outcome. He'll definitely come back. He definitely will, Jing Xiao said quietly. Chapter 353. Jing Xiao walked out of her residence and into the Snorrock Castle. The children of the Dongbo clan within the castle were all very respectful, standing at a distance to greet her respectfully. The servants and guards did not dare to approach her. In Snorrock Castle, Jing Xiao's position was the most special. She was the wife of Dongbua Shui Ying and the most powerful transcendent in the castle. These children. Jing Xiao looked at the children of the Dongbo clan and could not help but grin. Shuang, you said that we would also have a child. Soon, she walked out of the castle and reached the top of the mountain. Jing Xiao sensed something and looked at the distant sky. She couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation in her heart. She saw a crack in the sky, and a cute, red-skinned girl with green leaves and red flowers flew out. Who is she? Jing Xiao was confused. This is Snorrock Castle. You are not allowed to trespass. A white mist condensed in the air and formed an ape, blocking the girl's path. The white fog ape was cautious. The girl in front of it was not ordinary. The girl was overjoyed. I was looking for Snorrock Castle. I, Shui Man, am too smart. I found it immediately. By the way, where's Mage Jing Xiao? I want to see her. Who are you? The white fog ape frowned. This girl who could easily tear through space must have the power of a demigod. How could it let her pass so easily? Dongbua Shui is my master. I am here on his orders, the girl said. The white fog ape was shocked. Dongbua Shui, you are here on Snow Eagle's orders? A figure appeared in the air. It was Jing Xiao. Jing Xiao's original body was still on the top of the mountain. She was just using the protection of Snorrock Castle to create an energy body. Shui Man looked happy and knelt in the air. Shui Man greets mistress. What proof do you have? Jing Xiao did not believe her immediately. Mistress, please take a look. Shui Man waved her hand and a red spear appeared in her hand. Jing Xiu couldn't help but reach out to grab it. Stroking the spear, she muttered, "Stellar fire cloud spear? Why was his weapon here? Did something happen to Snow Eagle?" To an expert, how important was a weapon? But now that Dongbua Shui Ying had gotten rid of the voodoo toxin, his Dantian Sea of Qi had long since produced demigod battle Qi. He could also use divine weapons. Naturally, he would be able to choose better weapons on Crimson Dust Island. The Stellar Fire Cloud Spear was temporarily returned as a keepsake. "Mistress, refine it and you will know." Shui Man threw a red ring over. The ring was very beautiful. Hua! The red ring quickly flew to Jing Qiu's main body, who was at the top of the mountain in the distance. She stretched out her slender finger and easily refined the ring. Sensing with his spiritual power, he could immediately sense the scene inside the ring. Jing Qiu. The white-robed Dongbua Shui Ying was smiling as he spoke to her. "Snow Eagle, oh, are you leaving behind an image, or are you talking to me?" Jing Qiu was somewhat apprehensive and didn't dare to believe it. She was afraid that Dongbua Shui Ying was already dead, leaving behind only an image. "Of course I'm talking to you," Dongbua Shui Ying said. Hearing this answer, Jing Qiu's tears flowed down her face. "Don't cry," Dongbua Shui Ying hurriedly said. "Yes, yes, yes." Jing Qiu nodded repeatedly. "How are you now?" "I succeeded." Dongbua Shui Ying revealed a smile. "I passed the sky-reaching vine and became an honorary disciple of Crimson Rock Mountain. The voodoo toxin has long since been dispelled, and I am the first to become an honorary disciple. I reckon that my Shen Master will become an honorary disciple as well, barring any accidents." Jing Qiu's heart was filled with joy. Before this, she had been very worried. Palace Lord Chun and the others were also very worried. Although they didn't say it out loud, deep in their hearts, they all had a vague feeling that the chances of Dongbua Shui Ying dying were very high. After all, too much time had passed. "Ask Shui Man to give you the storage treasure," Dongbua Shui Ying said. "All right." Jing Qiu immediately went to ask for it. Shui Man had already flown to the top of the mountain. She respectfully presented a jade-colored bracelet to Jing Qiu. After refining the bracelet, Jing Qiu immediately sensed the huge amount of treasures inside. "Jing Qiu, this is very important. Listen to me carefully." Dongbua Shui Ying began telling her about the various matters, allowing his wife to handle them. His wife was also a transcendent magus. She would remember everything he said clearly. "I understand. 15 years? All right, I understand. These treasures are worth 8,000 deity crystals. The blood-creeping flower is that powerful? You bought so many deity corpses for her?" "All right." Jing Qiu agreed. Her heart was filled with joy. Her husband was still alive. This was the biggest surprise to her. Furthermore, he had successfully dispelled the poison. The two of them could truly be together for a long time. They talked about the important matters for a whole hour. "Snow Eagle, I realize that you become very long-winded." Jing Qiu teased him with a smile. "This matter concerns the entire Xia people. We have to be careful." Dongbua Shui Ying said. "Don't worry. I will definitely do it properly. I will report to you after I'm done." Jing Qiu smiled. "Of course I believe in my wife. My wife is the most powerful transcendent magus in the past 1,000 years." Shui Ying sighed in admiration. What he said was not wrong. Even though Jing Qiu had become a transcendent slightly later than Shui Ying and Yuan Qing, she was still very young. Mages had always placed more emphasis on accumulating experience, and from the perspective of a mage, Jing Qiu's cultivation speed was already very formidable. "It's been a long time since we last met. You contacted me through the communication artifact and talked about a lot of important matters. Is there nothing you want to tell me?" Jing Qiu asked. Dongbua Shui Ying immediately thought about it. He then smiled. "I've already dispelled the poison. When I get out, let's have a child together." "No, let's have a bunch of children." Jing Qiu's face was completely red. "A bunch of children? Don't worry. Our children will definitely have the most powerful bloodline in the history of the Xia people." Dongbua Shui Ying was incomparably confident. What a joke. He had the time immemorial physique. His bloodline definitely surpassed all primordial bloodlines and demon bloodlines. On the same day, Jingxiu set off for the infernal realm. Inside the infernal palace, she met with Palace Lord Chun. Jingxiu, why are you here? Palace Lord Chun was a little surprised. What's the matter? The Snow Eagle asked me to inform you, Jingxiu said. The war between the sorcerer god and the great demon god should erupt in 15 years. Palace Lord Chun was shocked. The Snow Eagle has returned? He's still at Crimson Rock Mountain. He asked another life form to pass on the message, Jingxiu said. Is he alive or dead? Palace Lord Chun asked. I don't know either, Jingxiu said. This was also what Dongbua Ying had told her. Apart from Jingxiu, the news of him becoming an honorary disciple was not to be leaked to anyone else. The Snow Eagle also received some news from inside. He said that the sorcerer god is the lord of the material world. Jingxiu began to say a lot, causing Palace Lord Chen's expression to change. The Snow Eagle also received some treasures and gave them out. Some of them are helpful for cultivation. Palace Lord Chun, you distribute them. Let the top demigods of the Xia people consume them. They will be very helpful for cultivation. Who knows, they might even give birth to a god. Yes. Palace Lord Chun nodded and immediately took a stored treasure. This time, the Eastern European Snow Eagle exchanged many spiritual fruits, spiritual liquids, and other rare treasures, all of which were helpful for cultivation. He wanted the Xia people to give birth to 1 or 2 more gods. A small portion was given to Jingxiu, while the rest was distributed to Palace Lord Chun. Very quickly, Palace Lord Chun began to make arrangements. Originally, the entire Xia people had already begun to migrate. Now that they had received more information, they understood that the war would be crueler than they had expected. They also knew when the war would break out. The migration of the Xia people was even faster and more straightforward. No one had any wishful thinking anymore. The transcendent clans migrated one by one, including legend rankers and various talents. After all, the infernal realm was only so big. Although the migration of the entire Xia people was heartless, they could only migrate the talents first. Great migration, it was very cruel. The entire Xia people's world began to become chaotic. Many well-informed people try to bring their families to the infernal realm. Chapter 354. Crimson Dust Island. Within a cultivation grotto belonging to a protector disciple. Other than the protector disciple, no one else was allowed to enter. Within a meditation room within the cultivation grotto. The meditation room was octagonal in shape. The ceiling was conical, and there were countless golden deity imprints on it. There were also 18 jasper cores, 9 dragon essence pearls glowing faintly gold, and a cube-shaped blood-red blood jade at the center. In the god realm, the jasper heart was a precious treasure that could only be formed in the depths of a planet that was completely covered in ice. The faint golden dragon marrow pearl was something that only peak-stage deity dragons could possess. As for the most precious blood jade, it was something that could only be found in the depths of the legendary Blood Sea Abyss of the Dark Abyss. Just a small piece of it was worth more than 500,000 deity crystals. Just the cost of this meditation room alone was more than 3 million deity crystals. It was enough to empty the pockets of some ordinary world deities. Of course, Dongbua Ying only had the right to use it. So comfortable. Sitting cross-legged in the meditation room, he felt unprecedentedly comfortable. Formless energy continuously seeped into his body and soul. This feeling was not inferior to eating some spirit fruits. Furthermore, the surrounding world energy had formed a faint mist that could be easily absorbed. The effect was not inferior to absorbing origin stones. Evidently, becoming a protector disciple meant nothing to origin stones. No wonder faction head Chao Qing was able to open the deity seat in his body after entering the cultivation grotto. Dongbua Ying looked around and praised. The conditions here are truly beyond my imagination. Time acceleration, tenfold. Dongbua Shuang said. Wang, the flow of time in the meditation room immediately accelerated. A day in the outside world would be 10 days in the meditation room. Time acceleration, hundredfold. Dongbua Shuang carefully sensed the flow of time. He had already experienced it when he was in the valley on the second leaf of the sky-reaching vine. Time acceleration, thousandfold. Dongbua Shuang said. The flow of time in the meditation room immediately increased explosively. Dongbua Shuang's expression changed slightly. He could feel the surrounding space distorting, and the laws of heaven and earth were also distorting. Time acceleration, 10,000-fold. Dongbua Shuang shouted out the highest speed that a protector disciple could control. Boom! It was as if the entire quiet room had suddenly frozen. All the laws of heaven and earth seemed to have been thrown into chaos. The powerful power of time had completely destroyed the balance of the laws of heaven and earth. No wonder. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. What Senior Shiwei and the others said to me was indeed true. Accelerating time isn't as good as we thought. Even the balance of the laws of heaven and earth is starting to be destroyed. Previously, Shiwei and the others had said, time acceleration to increase your strength faster? What a joke. Any of the almighty existences of the God realm could easily accelerate time by 10,000 times, or even 10 million times. The temporal island, for example, was even more powerful when it came to time acceleration. Under the environment of time acceleration, if one could continuously increase one's power level, one would not be able to do so. This way, we can train our subordinates on a large scale. It's like being in a high-speed warship. When you look at the scenery outside, it will feel blurry. In a space where time flows at high speed, even the originally stable rules of the world will feel distorted and blurry. From ancient times until now, in an environment where the flow of time is accelerated, I've never heard of anyone breaking through bottlenecks by comprehending the heavens and earth. Dongbua Shuang immediately understood. No wonder Percy I was unable to break through his bottleneck, even after cultivating for so long in the second vine leaf world. My Shemaster and the others were also unable to break through their bottlenecks in the second vine leaf world. Even his own improvement in his three true meanings was very small. He had only consolidated his realm and perfected his secret arts. At this moment, in the secret room, where time was truly accelerated by 10,000 times, Dongbua Shuang could feel it very strongly. The laws of the world were distorted to the point where they could no longer be felt. Evidently, if the flow of time was too exaggerated, it could only be used for combat or normal life. It was impossible to use it for cultivation. No wonder the time in the second vine leaf world is only accelerated by 100 times. Dongbua Shuang nodded. With time accelerated by 100 times, the laws of the world aren't too distorted. At least, it won't affect my research and comprehension of secret arts. However, if I want to break through my bottleneck and truly comprehend the profound mysteries of the laws of the world, I still have to cultivate under the normal flow of time, under the most perfect laws of the world. However, it's already very good. Dongbua Shuang revealed a smile. My spear's secret art has only been created, star meteor annihilation. How can this move be considered a spear art? I can definitely continue to research other secret arts. Researching secret arts under 100 times faster time. Cultivating true meanings under the normal flow of time. He then closed his eyes and began to meditate. As for what had happened in the world of the Xia people, because of his message, he could not be distracted. Right now, he was focused on raising his strength as much as possible. It would be best if he could become an inner disciple. It really is different. After getting rid of the voodoo poison, his soul became very clear. After cultivating the time immemorial body, his body became strong and his soul was nourished. In the meditation room, the effect of cultivating was even better. With these three aspects combined, Dongbua Shuang's current cultivation was incomparably smooth. He pondered over the profound mysteries of his true meanings. Many of the puzzles he had in the past immediately began to fervently deduce and understand. The main reason was that in the past, he had always been using spear arts and was unable to truly deduce them. At this moment, he was deducing to his heart's content. Occasionally, he would stand up and take out a black spear, practicing and verifying. This pitch-black spear was a low-grade divine artifact. There was no helping it. Although demigod transcendents could use deity weapons, they could only use low-grade deity weapons. Unless the blood-refined deity weapon resonated with one's soul, one could only use top-grade deity weapons. For example, Grand Elder Ao Lan could use the Sorcerer God Saber. For example, Jing Xiao could use Senior Snow Saber. Both the Sorcerer God Saber and Senior Snow were top-grade deity weapons. Shuang was not so lucky as to find a spear that could resonate with his soul, so he could only choose this low-grade deity rank spear made from excellent materials. It was called the Black Crow Spear, and it was said that the spear's shaft was refined from the bones of a creature called the Black Crow, and its toughness was excellent. On Crimson Dust Island, he was the only one. The disciples who were cultivating on Crimson Rock Mountain when the Sacred Master died had all descended. Oh, strictly speaking, on Crimson Dust Island, besides Dongbua Shuang, there was also the Weapon Spirit, Senior Crimson Rock. Path of Reflection. Dongbua Shuang stopped and raised his head. In front of him was a long stone path. The stone steps extended all the way to the peak of the distant mountain. To become an inner disciple, I have to pass the first section of the Path of Reflection and the 6th floor of the Soaring Cloud Pagoda. Dongbua Shuang immediately stepped onto the stone steps. When his right foot stepped onto the first stone step, he felt his body sink. A feeling of weakness immediately spread throughout his body and soul. It was so tiring, and it was hard for him to take another step. Interesting. How strong was Dongbua Ying's mental state? He could still laugh and joke even after being tortured by the voodoo poison for 100 years. This feeling of weakness was something he could easily endure. Step by step, the more he walked, the weaker and more tired he became. Not just his body, but his soul as well. Boundless exhaustion washed over him, and he felt like he could lose consciousness and collapse at any moment. Dongbua Shuang had never thought that he would be this tired after cultivating the time immemorial body. What he did not know was that the Path of Reflection targeted one's soul and heart. No matter how strong one's body was, it would be useless. Let's go continue. It's still early. Dongbua Shuang tried his best to stay awake. He continued walking, but on the stone steps, Dongbua Shuang started to sway with every step he took. It was as though his entire body was strenuous, and he had to accumulate energy with every step he took to stay awake. Pong! Finally, boundless exhaustion drowned Dongbua Shuang's consciousness. Even his strong mental state was unable to endure it. His entire body swayed, and he collapsed onto the ground. He directly fell down from the stone steps, falling towards the sky. Dongbua Shuang's eyes were closed as he fell into a deep sleep. It was obvious that he had fallen into a deep slumber due to exhaustion. With a plop, he fell 800 meters from the ground and smashed onto the ground, crushing all the flowers and grass around him. Woo! Only then did Shuang wake up. He blinked his eyes and looked up. Only then did he wake up. I actually fell asleep. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.